Hi, welcome into Backseat Filmmaking. I'm your host Seth, and today Tanner, Derrick, and I are going to be taking a look at 2007's No Country for Old Men, written and directed by Joel and Ethan Coen. Hope you enjoy. Right, well, how you guys doing?
Doing better now.
Yeah,
Yeah,
better now.
absolutely.
ready to talk
Excited,
about? Yeah,
excited,
Let's
excited
get
to talk
into it,
about this
baby.
movie.
Come on.
Yeah,
Hey,
I know
Tanner.
you're excited.
Yeah, love this movie. Tanner, why don't you lead us in on what the synopsis is for this?
Of course. All right. Violence and mayhem ensue after a hunter stumbles upon the aftermath of a drug deal gone wrong and over $2 million in cash near the Rio Grande.
Shout out the Rio Grande.
Shout out the Rio
Shout
Grande.
out Rio
We'll
Grande.
get into that a little bit later too. A lot of fun stuff for
Right.
us in particular.
Well, I know, Seth, you have some trivia questions for
I
us?
do.
Kick
All
us,
right.
kick us
I
off?
do.
All right.
Some challenges
Yeah,
here.
I want to throw
See if
some
we-
things. See if you guys even did some
Test our
research on this
research?
movie. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So we're gonna start it off with the softball. All right. So, who is the author of the book that this is adapted from?
Tanner,
Oh, come on.
because you know it.
Cormac McCarthy?
Hey,
Right?
ding, ding,
right.
ding.
One for one. One for one.
Tanner.
Let's go.
Right.
Let's go.
All right. And who shot Josh Brolin's audition tape?
Oh well. Okay. So we were just talking about this.
Mm-hmm.
I had it. I guess I had it wrong because what the story I had heard was that on the set of Grindhouse, right?
Right.
Is that what it
Right,
was? Yeah. So Josh Brolin was there with Robert Rodriguez and Tarantino. I had heard Tarantino shot it. Tanner says,
I saw an interview, a Charlie Rose interview, once
Mhm.
again, with Josh Brolin, Javier Bardem, and the Coen Brothers.
mhm,
From Josh Brolin, he says Robert Rodriguez filmed his audition tape because he wasn't able to make the auditions for the movie
like in person.
Yeah, in
Yeah,
person.
so he sent in a tape.
He sent in a tape.
Yeah.
So I believe it's Robert
Yeah, I'm
Rodriguez.
gonna- I mean,
it could be both. You
So
know,
that's
but
what we're locking in.
I
Then?
bel
I'm gonna go Robert Rodriguez. That's what I'm locking
'Cause
in.
that-
It's
I mean,
coming
if
from
that's
Josh Brolin.
Yeah, if it's coming from Josh, I'll take that.
I will take Robert Rodriguez. I believe Quentin did have a little bit to do with it, but
Yeah.
I'm sure Robert was the one who actually shot it.
Mm.
I'm sure you guys have heard the story. If you know that, I'm sure you heard that the Coen brothers said, "Yeah, we watched the tape, and all we were wondering is who lit it."
Yeah,
Yeah.
They're like
It
it's the
just looked
best looking
amazing.
Well, because
audition
it was,
tape.
the camera was like one of the most expensive cameras at the
Yeah.
time. It was
Yeah.
like $1 million camera,
Yeah.
and that's why it looked so
Yeah.
great.
See, what I had read was that it was Robert Rodriguez lent them the camera, and then Tarantino's the one that like shot it. But I mean, if Josh Brolin's saying that Robert,
Yeah, and they
I
did,
wasn't
they
there.
didn't love Josh's audition. And
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Yeah.
He actually got the role from his in-person one.
Mhm.
Oh, okay, I
Right.
didn't know that.
Yeah,
Because the Coen brothers preferred in-person read-throughs.
Gotcha.
Mhm.
And then he was capable of getting getting one.
Because I think he had read the whole book.
Yeah.
He knew they were adapting it. He read the whole book, fell in love with it. And he's like, I gotta send in a tape.
Mhm.
At the very least, I gotta be in this movie.
He originally I believe he wasn't gonna do it because his schedules were conflicting.
Oh, okay.
And he wasn't gonna make an audition. So,
Yeah.
but he ended up just deciding to try it. I'd say we both get a point for that one.
yeah, yeah.
Well,
Good-
we're on the same team
Good,
here, so
good all
we're
around.
sure.
Good all around.
We're good, yeah.
Now you guys are against me. I am.
Oh, okay,
I am
okay.
Anton
trying
in
to
this
stump us.
scenario. Okay. What movie was simultaneously being shot while this movie was?
Oh, this is Paul
Nice.
Thomas Anderson's "There Will Be Blood,"
All right.
shot at the same time in similar locations.
There you
So
go.
Daniel Day-Lewis.
Yeah.
Yep. All right. Hopefully one that we'll review at some point.
yeah,
And this question might be wrong. I think I saw it and I was going back today to confirm.
Mm.
So this might not be right, but I'm still going to throw it out there. Which actor grew up in the town that Llewellyn is based in?
Oh, I'm gonna guess. I don't know if you have a guess, so we can decide and we'll lock it in. But I feel like it's Tommy Lee Jones.
It is Tommy Lee Jones.
Okay, I thought
Yeah.
I saw an interview where he was talking. You
Yeah.
know, he was a Texas boy.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, and that's what I think kind of really attracted him. He was
Yeah.
already familiar with the author of the book,
Mm-hmm.
and he was familiar with like these kind of stories. He loves westerns,
Mhm.
loves the environment. Again, grew up there, so yeah, okay, that's what I assumed it was.
All right.
I got us, Tanner. Don't worry.
He's carrying. Is Tanner too heavy? What some are asking. All right. How many feet of film was shot for the movie?
See, I don't know this one, but I believe you do. Right?
Yeah, this one for whatever reason I found this too, so thank God. But I want to say it was like roughly 250,000 feet of film. Right? Is that right?
Yeah.
I'm using the 200,000 range, which is a lot smaller than your typical film at this kind of level. I mean, the Coen brothers were just extremely efficient.
Yeah.
With their, I'd say mainly like previs, and obviously going off of an adapted story, they had a lot to work with already, and they didn't have to do very many takes. So it took a lot less film than a film of this scale would normally take.
Yeah, and from where I got that question, 750,000 to 1,000,000 feet is pretty standard. And it was from that Bill Hader interview where I got this from, because he laughs, he scoffs. He says that's one day of Judd Apatow, because how he just lets the camera roll and let them improvise.
That's funny.
So I thought that was pretty funny. And so that kind of leads into this next question. How many takes did it take Tommy Lee Jones for his final monologue? The dream monologue. How many takes?
Do you know this?
I think I have a guess.
I only have a guess. I have no clue. I'm gonna. What's yours? I feel like you have a better gauge of
This
it.
doesn't count. We're just consulting here for the
It
answer.
doesn't count.
I'm gonna guess and say it was one take. I think he got it first try, maybe.
I was gonna go one.
Okay, we're locking in one.
One take Tommy is what they call him.
One
Let's
take
go.
Tommy. Not bad.
Is what the lore of him is. And he sat there and he said, "Yep, I practiced it a lot." And he we'll get to it, but he absolutely delivers there.
That's crazy. Yeah, once we get to that, I mean, that's nuts.
Finally, this one is in relation to our actors, or I'm sorry, our directors, our writers, our editors. What is the pseudonym for Ethan and Joel Coen's editing? What do they use? What's their name?
Okay, so I know the story here. I believe it was just at the time there was a rule, at least for nominations, I believe at the Oscars, that SAG had implemented at the time. It was like you couldn't have more than a single editor to be nominated, and obviously the Coen brothers edited the movie together, so they made up a fake person to submit for the Oscars, and that person did get nominated, which is hilarious. Yeah. Oh man, I'm blanking on the name. I did know this. I swear to God, I know the story.
I cheated and saw. I didn't actually know it beforehand, so I would have. But if you want
to enlighten our wonderful audience,
I believe it's Roderick James.
You saying James or Janes?
James. No.
This is crucial.
I'm gonna say James. What I originally thought. I'm probably wrong.
You cheated and you got it wrong.
I cheated and I got it wrong.
What is it? It's
Janes.
James.
That's it. All right.
Okay, I knew the story, but we'll still take the L on that question.
Pam?
2M?
Is that your last trivia question?
That is it.
2M.
We got the last one wrong. We were on a roll too.
Thanks for indulging me on that.
Well, at least those shows that we did our research at least a little bit. We're not complete hacks. Yeah. So that's better than nothing, I guess.
You carried, but
so to the man that actually did carry that, because I trust.
That's true. I think Tanner knew these. I think he just didn't want to say it.
Wrong.
I don't think he was as confident in his answers, but he would have got them right.
But to someone who I am confident in what knows what's going on right now,
fair enough.
Let's throw this to Derrick, and I know you got some stuff that you want to talk about.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we always start these shows off with a little bit of pre-production context, making of for these movies. I feel like that's sometimes even more important. Maybe not more important than the movie itself, but sometimes it's just as interesting. Yeah, and I think it kind of rounds out the movie. I think sometimes it makes it a little more enjoyable, at least for us. I know obviously that's why we do all the research we do. But from the very beginning, I'll start there, I guess. That's probably a good place to start as far as pre-production. As I'm cheating, I'm looking at Wikipedia. I know all this stuff, but I'm trying to keep it all in order, right? A little too much wine. So Scott Rudin, he was a producer on the film. He's the one that he bought the film rights to the novel. This is based off a novel of the same name, No Country for Old Men, by Cormac McCarthy, right? Okay, I keep saying Carmack for some reason. Cormac McCarthy.
I don't want to say that too.
I don't know why. But he bought the film rights to the movie, and my understanding is that he went directly to the Coen brothers and approached them to adapt it into a film. because he was like, I feel like this is something right up their alley. See if they want to do it. At the time, they were actually they had something else in the works, adapting another novel, oddly enough. That one by the name of To the White Sea by James Dickey. I guess they had been working on that for some time, trying to figure out a way to like actually turn it into a film. I'm not familiar with that book, so I don't know if that's like a difficult task or not. I know sometimes translating to different mediums is kind of difficult, but they read No Country for Old Men and they loved it. They specifically liked the how, you know, being a Western, it's kind of like a neo-Western. I think that's what people would consider this film genre, is like, it's a Western, but not in the traditional sense. It's more new age, more contemporary. It doesn't follow a lot of the traditional, I guess, even cliches of the genre, but it's enough of that to still be qualified as a Western. So that's what they liked about it. It kind of took certain aspects of a traditional Western, kind of flipped them a little bit. And I think that's what immediately drew them to adapting it, because they were like, well, we're not just going to make a Western. We want to make something a little more bite to it. And, you know, they right away, they got working on it. From there, as far as writing the script, because they wrote the script, both of them did. It's a very, very, I guess, accurate or almost verbatim for a lot of scenes that are in the book. So they didn't have like, I guess, like a ton of work to do, but they did change key elements that makes it enough their own. And again, we'll talk about these scenes when they come up later, but to still give them some kind of work. They weren't just making a one-to-one copy of the book. From there, obviously, then casting, you know, getting people involved. Dan, I know you had talked a little bit about casting. I know with, like, obviously, I mean, there's Josh Brolin. I mean, loaded cast, by the way. But
I mean, no, I didn't really have too much on it other than the Josh Brolin thing, but we already covered that pretty much with the trivia question.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well,
that was kind of my bit. Was like, I thought the most interesting was the Josh Brolin casting there, because just it was kind of different from the other notable actors that were casted into this one. So honestly, I don't have too much on
Okay.
it.
I think it's pretty interesting, Javier's addition to this movie. And you know, you hear his story of how he got to this movie. Is he'll always say throughout the commentary of this movie is, I don't drive, I don't speak English well, and I don't like violence. And the Coen brothers famously said to him, well, maybe that's why we called you.
right.
And you know, someone that doesn't embody any of this at all as the human they are can dive into this and be this character. It's really impressive. And I really hope we spend a good time on the hair and how we felt about the hair.
Oh,
yeah, no, there's definitely a lot of
Yeah.
there's a lot that goes into like the costume design. This is a period piece, not maybe in the traditional sense, but technically this movie was made in 2007. It takes place in 1980, and it's also, I mean, it's a small towns throughout Texas that it's set in, and it's like, to capture that field, I feel like that's even like maybe 10, 20 years behind, you know, some other big cities at the time, and like, whether, you know, it's how they dress or the cars they're driving. So it's very accurate in that way. So the set design, costume design going into his hair, they knew immediately, like, oh, that is exactly what we're looking for. And I think with Javier Bardem too, because he had, I don't want to say he turned down the role, but he was definitely apprehensive of taking it because of those reasons that you had mentioned. And yeah, to see him just like transform in this role. I mean, it's like I can't watch him in anything else without thinking, I mean, even you watch, you know, doing all this research, you watch all these interviews and how obviously different he is from his character Anton. It's like, how does someone do, I mean, you know, that's acting, but it really is impressive. It goes to show the lengths that someone will go. And also, I if I'm not mistaken, he'd also mentioned like certain things that he did during filming to kind of like get more into the role. He had stopped smoking. I guess he was drinking a bit more than you would normally drink. I don't think he was like drinking on set or anything like that, but outside of it. And there's something else too, but he was doing all these different things to like basically make himself feel like shit, which is so funny to think about. Like, he was kind of just like going through it a little bit, and just to like embody this cold-blooded psychopath.
So I mean, you get to that first, or probably not the first scene, but when he pulls the guy over And I'm jumping ahead a little bit here, but I just want to talk about the makeup of that sun blasting his face,
Oh,
looking so pale and
Yeah.
so just like,
His smile.
yeah. Oh, his smile, his like, he's got his stuff around his eyes that make it look.
yeah, he has
Just
like
devious.
Yeah.
the dark circles around his eyes. Looks like he
Yeah.
doesn't sleep very much or
Yeah.
very well.
Oh yeah.
And then the hair's weird.
Mm-hmm.
And then he's like, I wouldn't even say disarming smile because it's like a nice smile, but it with all that coupled, it's very unnerving. And
I guess knowing what kind of
Right, yeah.
person his character is, the smile just is like the cherry on top of
Yeah.
like, oh god,
this guy's a sicko.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
without getting too much into that, I think it's very interesting. Is there ever been a time where a book has turned into a movie this fast? It's 2 years from the book. The book was written in 2005.
Oh, really?
The movie came
Okay.
out 2007.
I didn't know this.
That's a 2-year turnaround to. I don't think anything has ever been adapted that quickly.
At least to this degree, with this kind of notoriety,
Yeah, I mean,
maybe
that
not.
is-
Yeah, that's super. I mean, that
Credit
goes
to
to
that.
show.
Credit to that writing.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, the book.
I feel
didn't
like a
read the book.
schmuck for not reading it.
Yeah. See, that's where maybe we can watch as many interviews as we want, but
Yeah.
did we actually read the source material?
Do we
the source
know?
material,
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh well.
Yeah.
Sorry, but I mean, it makes me want to read it though. Honestly,
Yeah.
that
Right,
I mean,
yeah.
considering according to how accurate the film is to the book, well, we love this movie, and I can't imagine. I don't do too much reading. If I'm being completely honest, maybe I ought to start learning how to read, and then I'll get into this book. But yeah, it makes me want to read it.
We're a movie review.
Yeah, I like
We're
the-
visual learners.
Yeah, exactly. Visual learners. I forgot how to read 10 years ago, so I don't know.
But I mean, it's interesting because you go into the makeup of Javier and
Mhm.
Anton, and when I'm looking into this, there's not really a ton of description on what this character is supposed to look like,
Mhm.
right? And how so you kind of are free. The Coen Brothers are free to their imagination and the makeup artists free to kind of cultivate what they think this psycho killer should look like. And it's interesting. You watch a video, and I feel bad for not being able to credit this person because it's a really interesting point that you see his outfit, his makeup is a lot more modern for that time.
Yeah.
The haircut's a lot more late 70s, early 80s. Like you were saying with the small townness of being behind the times,
Mhm.
this guy just kind of looks out of place, and it just feeds into the mystery of that is this dude.
Well, I know with the author coming up with the name Anton Chigurh,
Chigurh.
Mhm.
Yeah.
he wanted to find a name that is kind of like mysterious in its own right, of like, where is this guy from? You can't really point it out. Like Javier himself is from Spain, but like even like with the character though, you can't like really make out like what this guy is.
Right.
Like, who is he? It is kind of like mysterious, like in its own right. Like his name, his look, his appearance, everything.
You'd said, yeah, like I think the word he used in particular was untraceable.
Right.
Yeah.
And
Right.
it's like that's like this character's whole thing,
Mhm.
right? He's like a ghost. He can just vanish. And obviously we'll get into that.
Yeah.
But
And his boots,
Mhm.
I saw something that there's really harsh looking alligator boots.
yeah.
Like he's trying to fit in with the people around him, but it's still this
Yeah.
this edgy, violent
Even
nature of it.
down to, I mean, yeah, very specific like era related clothing items, like
Big collar.
the wider like lapels on his collar, and then the his pants are a bit more flared, which would have been in at the time, and then the boots. So it's like, I guess like outside looking in, if you're not familiar with either that era, which none of us grew up in, it might not seem that out of place, but even to us, it's still enough to where you're like, this guy kind of sticks out, and in a way that is, I mean, obviously kind of scary. Even it's a little odd. So you're immediately kind of like suspect, about him. So
Like you said, like he's a ghost, and Sheriff Bell even mentions at one point in the movie that he calls him a ghost as well. He's sort of otherworldly.
Mhm.
Like this guy just does not look like anybody else in that time. Like,
Right.
He stands out, but also blends in at the same time of not being seen.
mhm.
You know.
Well,
sorry,
no,
go
no,
ahead.
go ahead.
I was just gonna say, personally, the last thing I'll mention about pre-production, I just remembered, as far as casting goes, Originally, the character of Llewellyn was they had actually specifically offered the part to Heath Ledger at the time. He had turned it down. I think he wanted to spend more time with his daughter, so he just wasn't taking roles at the time, and turned it down. And then they started doing auditions. But I find that interesting. You try to reimagine the movie with whenever that happens in one of those movies, you're like, oh well, this person could have been played by so and so, and it's like another big actor. And you try to reference other roles of theirs.
Yeah.
And like,
Had
how do you do?
Ropeback already happened?
I believe I want to say yes. I think it did.
I think there's something to Josh being a little more low key
I agree.
that helps.
He's older too,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
and he has like kind of
A
like
little
more
more
of a
rugged.
rough around the edge. Yeah, exactly. Rugged. That's perfect. I think Heath can be a bit of a pretty boy.
Yeah.
Not in a bad way. I just think I don't know if that would work for this character of Llewellyn. I think I mean everyone's terrific in this movie, so I couldn't see anybody
And I
else.
think
playing
you'd
these
have
roles.
Heath try to force an accent,
Mhm.
whereas Josh just kind of that's his natural.
It does help, yeah, right.
Yeah.
It's and speaking of accents, well, I guess
Yeah.
another bit of casting. What is the actress? I'm blanking on her name.
Can't remember
It
her first name,
plays-
but McDonald.
Carla Jean,
Yeah,
Car-
that plays
yeah, plays Carla
plays the
Jean
character
Moss.
Carla Jean Moss. That's the wife of
Kelly.
Kelly.
Too. Kelly McDonald. She's
Yeah.
Scottish.
Kelly
grew up
McDonald?
there.
Mhm.
Does a phenomenal job with her accent.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't even know that
Right.
beforehand that
No.
she wasn't, or like at least even American at that point. Like it's so good.
It's a very tough accent to nail for Americans if you're not even from the South. Anyone with that Southern accent, that Texas accent in particular, like West Texas, even more particular. Lady from
Yeah,
Scotland.
and not even
You
just the
know.
accent, but the attitude too.
Yeah, I
Right,
think the
yeah.
way she
Right.
kind of like carries herself in her scenes, and she's not in too much of the movie, but the
But
scenes that she's
she's
in,
fantastic in everything.
yeah,
in
very
every
very
part of-
convincing performance and accent. And I remember in the research, I mean, I'm sure you guys saw too, as far as her own kind of reservations about the role, because it's like, I don't know if I can do that. And then even the Coens being kind of like, well, we kind of wanted like Americans in this because again, there's a very particular setting that the movie takes place. But then she does her audition and just crushes it because it's like, oh well, you would never know. And again, we didn't know until you start watching interviews and she has her Scottish accent. I'm like, that is so bizarre. You would, that's always a lot of fun. But
Yeah. Well, I think before we got into that last little bit, I think we were naturally kind of moving into wanting to talk about the movie.
yeah,
So this movie opens with a beautiful landscape shot. I love the way it just breaks from night to dawn and over Tommy Lee's voice and his narration, talking about what it's like to be a sheriff in this time, talking about previous sheriffs, and talking about how he's seeing crime that doesn't make any sense. Mentions things along the lines of sheriffs not having to carry guns because of it just wasn't the same kind of violence that
Right.
people were dealing with. And Tanner, I know you were just saying that there were some actual sheriffs.
Yeah, so the sheriffs that he mentions, I believe, they are real sheriffs of those counties, but I can't remember if it's if they were the sheriffs of the time of the release of the movie, so at that current time of 2007 or whenever they shot it,
yeah.
or the 1980 time period that they take place in. But I want to say it was their current sheriffs of those counties that he mentions. Yeah, I believe
That'd be
that's-
pretty cool to be one of those shared and kind of get like a little reference in
Yeah.
in this big Coen Brothers movie.
Well, to mention about like the violence that's evolving in this ever changing world, I believe, yeah, I mean it's 1980, so I mean it's taking place along the lines of a lot of the rise of like serial killers.
Oh
you
yeah, this is
know?
around Ted Bundy,
And I
right?
believe it was 2 years prior of 1980 where Ted Bundy got arrested.
Okay,
I want to say.
so
So
serial killers,
it's yeah,
they're in,
yeah,
Yeah.
they're in at that time.
for lack of better
Dahmer.
words. Yeah,
Yeah, and so Anton being the new type, just one of the
And he doesn't even know he exists yet. Right?
Right.
Like he just knows that type of evil is out there.
he
right?
knows it's evolved. He knows the world is
Yeah.
changing.
So I hate to butcher that awesome narration of that opening.
yeah.
Just because there's a lot of awesome substance in there and just his voice too. I mean, Tommy Lee, just love
I think
him.
he has like this earnestness in
Yeah.
his delivery that it sounds like you can almost hear the disappointment in his voice, that it's like he's commenting on his, you know, I guess him trying to come to terms with his age, coming to terms with the world kind of leaving him behind, right? He's becoming a relic if he hasn't already become that. And he just can't keep up. He doesn't get anymore. People don't act the way that they used to act. So even his small town in Texas is changing, in his opinion, for the worse in a lot of different ways. Not even necessarily the violence, but I just think like society as a whole, to him, it just, it's not like how it used to be when he would see, you know, it's like you see the world in a different lens at that point. And I think his delivery really gets that across just to set the tone out the gate. I love that. Such a great opening.
And then we get our antagonist, Mr. Anton Chigurh, getting arrested and taken in, and we see his cattle weapon get tossed in the passenger seat.
Right.
And you're like, what the heck is that?
Yeah.
And if that's your first time seeing it, obviously, I don't think he says a word while he's in the car. You just see this mischievous looking guy.
Yeah.
It's taken back to the office. I mean, this is a small town deputy. He's just going about his business. Like, I'm just arresting somebody. I'm going to call it in. I'm talking about it. And then in the background, you get this sneak, this guy greasily getting out of his handcuffs, man. That shot is amazing.
So good.
It's just silent. You know everything you need to know about the preciseness, the psychoticness, the efficiency that this dude walks with and goes about his business with. Just gets out of there and then takes him, chokes him out. And that, I mean, that's the first, and I believe the Coen said we wanted this one to be the most violent death,
and it
just to set the
definitely
tone.
is. Oh my God.
And the way he has him, and it pops the vessel.
Yeah.
And I mean, you're just sitting there. And sorry, go ahead. I'm kind of
you're touching up on everything. I just
yeah.
wanted to mention his boot marks on the floor.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
All the black streaks from his boots are insane to look at the overhead shot of them, and he's struggling, and they're literally everywhere on that floor, and it's just
they're
like
rotating
he's
kind of back and
struggling.
forth.
Yeah, he's struggling. They're kind of just like going, back and forth. This guy's just trying to get out of it. It looks insane.
I was wondering if that was from that or just basic walking through. It
No,
definitely
yeah,
was
you
from
can
his
see,
boots.
yeah,
It's
from
from
the
definitely
boots,
is
yeah.
from
they accrue throughout that scene.
That's what I like
Yeah.
too. There's kind of a certain continuation of certain shots where you can see more and more build up there of him fighting.
It's like a visual representation of not only what you just saw, but like of the struggle himself, like where he was, like his legs and just moving about. It looks insane.
It's weird because that to me was more striking. Like the blood is honestly like, oh my God, like that. It's so gross. It's so violent. But to me, the like representation through the the representation of the struggle with those boot marks, to me, like that like freaks me out. Honestly, that is such a good way to start the movie because it immediately kind of puts you in this.
Like he's never looking down like at him, right?
Oh, he's just looking straight up.
He's just, and then the release on his face when he knows he's finally killed him. And he just looks to the side like,
I don't think he blinks.
No, dude.
I don't think so he's just like staring up at the ceiling, and that overhead shot, it's like he's looking right at you. It freaks me out, man.
Yeah.
Anton Chigurh is terrifying.
We see him washing his hands, and he's got the I mean, because that
hurts
him
dig
too.
into him on the cuffs.
Because these, I mean, handcuffs aren't designed to be comfortable.
No, they're quite literally not. Yeah,
and so he's like, it's dug into his skin, and he's just washing away.
He bandages them up.
Yeah,
but and then he's on his way.
Yeah.
That to me is such a crazy opening because it's like, first of all, again, he has no lines. He doesn't say a single thing this whole time. But you don't need to. Just establishes so directly, and so I mean violently, I suppose. Great scene, great opening, and it does jump into things right away too, because I think that's immediately followed up by him. So he takes the police cruiser. He pulls over
where his cattle gun is.
Right, yeah, and so he has his weapon of choice. He pulls over a random guy because he's trying to lose the cruiser.
Right.
So he pulls him over and he's like, "Can you please step out of the car?" And the guy's
are
like,
you
what is
guys,
this
are
about?
you guys getting out of that car? You see someone pull up with a...
Well, he's not in a uniform. He
not
has like
in
this
uniform,
weird
holding-
device.
yeah.
Even if you didn't know what that is.
Or are these guys just so kind and oblivious to the,
I think
to
it's
the evil
more
around
the,
them?
He's coming out of a police cruiser.
Right.
So
Yeah.
he's probably, this guy's a cop. He's not even questioning it. He just immediately is just like, that's an authoritative like figure. And he's kind of going with everything that he's saying, other than him questioning, like, hey, what is that? That's like his only like thing about it. Otherwise, he's listening to everything. He's like, get out of the car.
Yeah.
You know?
And let's get back to Derek, because I did cut you off there, but I just
No,
wanted to
you're
ask
fine.
that.
I do think it's interesting because that's what I was going to bring up. Is like when we were screening the movie, we're all like,
This guy
just isn't even he's not gonna question any of this. Aside from what is that in your hand, he doesn't even answer him anyways, so it doesn't really matter. And then he's like, I just need you to hold still, and then he puts the little cattle prong, or what is it called? It's a little like captive bolt pistol or a cattle pistol to kill
Just
cows.
shoots a little...
Yeah, it's like a rod.
And
It's a
it
metal
retracts.
rod with it's pressurized air with a metal rod, so it just hits their brain, I guess, and
doesn't
just,
even know what hits him.
yeah, and just so quick, and it retracts, and so he just slowly puts it up to his head and boop, smokes the dude.
And just the quick contrast of the kill he had previously to the calmness and almost politeness of, let me just stay right there.
And I mean, the guy literally
he's like looking at it as it's going to his head, you know, and
he kind of like almost cross-eyed,
like
looks
the
up
mist of blood that comes out after he shoots it is terrifying.
Yeah.
Like it's just a mist.
But it's so exact, it's so efficient, and that's why I assume this character, who is all about efficiency, uses this weapon because it's untraceable too. And they talk about that later. But and then he takes his car. But yeah, we had talked about when we were screening, like, what? You're not even, he's like putting this device up to your head and you're not even gonna move a muscle. But it is that, I guess, kind of a commentary on like people's willingness to, like you said, like an authority figure.
Trust.
Yeah, it's just like, well, he's a cop. I mean, he pulled up in a police cruiser. And it is also like that small town kind of mentality too, where it's like stuff like that doesn't happen there. And it's okay. It's a police car, and like, okay, well, he's pulling me over. Okay. And then by the time you know it, you just got your head punctured. So, you know, it's easy to make fun of outside looking in. But,
but I mean, it's a direct, immediate callback to that opening narration.
Right.
I mean, these people don't know this evil that this world is coming to.
Exactly. It's starting to engulf.
Yeah. I mean, they don't know any better. They don't think people are just going around killing people like that.
Right.
And like, no, that's not how people live to this person.
And this guy didn't do anything wrong. Right. So it's like, you can't even, there's no sense of logic. He just needed his car. It didn't matter. So to this guy, he's being pulled over for like, what am I being pulled over for? Like, what is this all about? Tells him to step out. Yeah. So we get that scene. Where do we go from here? Because this is where we get
it's a cut to, we get a landscape into Llewellyn up on the post, channeling in his rifle, his sniper, and pretty much missing this animal.
Yeah.
For a retired Marine
he gets him
for a target that wasn't
him.
But
it's not a lethal
it's
blow.
not a headshot.
Yeah,
I guess we don't know how good this guy was at his job in Vietnam, but I mean,
well, he even like after he shoots and like it hits him and it still takes off. He was like kind of like, oh, you know, like, I should have gotten that.
I know we didn't grow up hunting or anything. Did you? Have you ever hunted?
I mean, I've never.
Okay,
it's to move the plot. Otherwise,
that's what I'm saying. There's no movie
that,
if he kills the animal right there, grabs it, and goes home.
But it seems like he gets it like center mass where you want to hit it. Like you're not necessarily going for like a headshot.
I mean, he had a blood trail to find.
Yeah, I think get that blow, like that final blow.
But he, so he hits him, but him, I don't know if it's sorry, I don't mean to, man, he hits the animal and he realizes like, okay, it runs off, but he knows it's hurt. It's going to keel over at some point.
Yeah.
So you just got to track it down.
And he gets distracted by this pit bull.
Yeah.
He's like, what the heck is this? Because
it
like looks at him and it's injured.
Well, because he's following the blood of he's following the blood of the antelope, but he also sees another like blood trail that's going the opposite direction. He looks over there like, what is that? Because it's going the other way. And then that's when he comes across the pit bull.
Right.
Like, being injured.
And that kind of like
like because
what is a dog doing out here? Like, what is
so
that?
he follows that
that.
trail up the dog. Like,
Look
what is
over,
that?
come over a ridge. I love the shot.
Yeah,
And
it's a
then
great shot.
reveals this massacre of people. It's still pretty deep. You can't really tell what happened, but
I think he pulls
you
out his
know-
binoculars, so
yeah,
we get a
you're
little
right.
POV.
yeah.
And okay, you see these trucks kind of all in a circle,
Bodies on the
right?
floor.
Bodies, and you know something went down. Some kind of. So he goes to investigate, and that's where he comes. You know, he has his rifle out by his hip. I like that too because it's like
Oh, yeah.
you can't aim down sight. If someone ends up popping out, he doesn't know what he's approaching right now. He has an idea. I think he has some kind of clue of like, oh god, but he sees all these dead bodies. There's even dead dogs.
The dog.
They're so yeah, it was a real bloodbath.
I guess I should slide in this little behind the scenes fact of they had to import special blood.
Oh yeah, I read about
that
this.
didn't
Yeah,
have sugar in it because these actors were laying out and they didn't want them to get like eaten by a bunch of mosquitoes the whole day. So they had to spend a bunch of money to get
I think it was like
special
from the
blood.
UK, right?
Yeah.
They had to import like 800
sugar-free
gallons
fake
of
blood.
yeah,
That's cool.
sugar-free
Yeah.
blood.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that because they were laying there for like 10 hours a day.
Yeah.
So I think that that's crazy. The I mean the dogs are not real.
I love that everybody that crosses the dog says
The dog,
they got
but
the
those
dog.
dogs, even like some behind the scenes of like them like looking at them, and they're putting together the set design and everything, and the Coen brothers are looking at it like, oh yeah, that looks great, but they're looking at a fake dead dog.
Well,
But
that's
it's-
like a traditional trope of in like westerns of
Oh,
like
yeah.
if you see on camera like someone hurt an animal like a dog, that's typically the bad guy.
It's the kick the
Oh,
dog
kick the
moment.
dog
Yeah,
moment,
it's a very it's a
And that
Western
typically
trope.
is the indicator of if you see the person do that, that person is usually the bad guy.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Granted, we get
Hey.
that moment specifically with our bad guy in this movie, Anton, later. That we'll definitely talk
Right.
about, but
And I do want
like
to
a more
mention
direct.
because Llewellyn, we'll see this in just a moment, but I do want to mention this since we're on the topic of this. He does kill a dog as well, but in defense.
Right, that's not a
doesn't
kick the dog.
outright.
Right. He's not-
But it is to show a gray area within the character.
Exactly, yeah.
So he's not necessarily good, but he's not a bad guy either. There's a bit of a gray, and like yes, it was in defense. It was either he kills the dog or
The
he
dog
gets just
mauls him to
mauled.
death.
Yeah, exactly.
So he's investigating this crime scene, opens up the back seat, sees a bunch of heroin or cocaine, and then finds somebody still alive. And I love, it uses a shattered glass that isn't broken, but you can't see through it.
Yeah, it's like
because of
pierced.
the-
It's yeah.
Yeah, so you kind of get this idea that something's going to be behind this door when he opens it. And he opens it, and there's a dude in there that's still breathing, but he's shot pretty good. And
I believe his response is whoa.
He's-
Whoa.
whoa. And he's asking for agua. He said, I ain't got no agua. No. So I got that backwards because he says, I ain't got no agua, then goes to the back
Then
of
he
the
goes
truck.
to the truck
then-
bed and
yeah,
looks at the hair. Yeah.
There you go. So, and then asks him, where's the last man standing? There has to be somebody. Where's he at? And he just keeps asking for water.
He sees the drugs but no money.
What did he say though? He said something about Lobos, right? And then he's like, "There
Yeah.
ain't no Lobos out here," or
Yeah.
something like that.
Yeah.
And I always think that's funny because I don't think they're talking about the same thing. I mean,
No.
like we find this out later,
Right.
obviously, like it's alluding to something. There's still something out there. There's still a looming threat.
Mhm.
But Llewellyn just kind of brushes it aside, where it's like, there ain't no Lobos.
There ain't no look.
And he's like, he doesn't really care about what this guy has to say. He's trying to figure out what's going down here. And he knows, last man standing, where's the money? He
Yeah.
knows there's this drug deal gone bad. Someone made off with the cash.
Right. I
There's
mean,
gotta
the
be
drugs
cash
are there.
involved. Yeah.
There's got to be
I mean, like
a buyer,
stacks.
right?
I mean,
Yeah.
like all this heroin back
Yeah.
there in the
And-
bed of the truck.
I did just knock Llewellyn's hunting skills for not being able to kill the animal on sight. However, I'll give him some props here because he's an expert tracker
I was gonna say,
at finding this guy using he's using his complex thinking, for lack of a complex word there from me. And he says something along the lines of he has to be
you
in
would
a
have stopped
shadow.
in shade.
Yeah,
Shade,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. And so he ends up finding him, And
Well, I do want to know before he ends up approaching though, like he sees like where there could be shade, and he sees these like trees out in the distance, takes a look, and he does see him, and he's just lying under there.
Yeah.
But he's not sure if he's alive or not, of course, because he's so far back.
You know,
And
that
he
shot,
looks at his
that
probably
shot,
arm.
Well, he
that
looks at
shot
his
is
clock.
from the guy, right?
They have it's from Llewellyn's perspective.
Okay,
Yeah.
it still
and then
is.
so he's probably assuming this guy's probably armed.
Right.
If he's alive, he's armed and obviously dangerous to me. So I'm gonna wait him out.
Well, yeah, he looks
So
at
he
his time.
He pulls
you
his
see the
watch
time.
out and he
Yeah,
has it
yeah.
out. And they filmed this at the exact time that the watch shows too, which is kind of fun
Oh,
to get the
really?
exact shadows of how the shadows would come on the trees and everything at the time. So they actually filmed that in real time, at least according to the time on the watch, when you see it 2 times. Because then some time passes, pulls out the watch again. It's been a few hours. Pulls out his binoculars again. Like that's how long he was willing to wait at this distance.
Yeah, just to
to
make
see if this guy
sure.
even moved a muscle.
Yeah.
He didn't. So he assumes that guy's probably either dead or he's out. So he approaches him. The guy's dead. And presumably from his injuries. He does have a gun on him, but again, he probably died some time ago. And he removes the gun.
Oh, he
First
takes
of
the
all,
gun.
Oh,
I
yeah.
had mentioned when we were screening
Cool
it, I was
gun.
like, I'm taking that 1911. That is clean.
Oh, he
I was
takes
Oh
like,
yeah, that
might as well.
silver-plated one.
Yeah, I was like,
yeah.
oh yeah, I'm taking that for
Oh,
sure.
he does too. He just puts it
Yeah,
right back.
Doesn't he
Yeah,
take
I
a
think
little
in second.
MP5 too or something?
Yeah,
He
take a-
does
yeah,
for the
little-
man that's asking for water. He
Yeah, he takes
grabs
his
the
little
gun
sub
from
and
him
takes
that's on
his
the seat,
mags.
and then
Yeah.
like he's like he sees the extra clip in his like pocket or whatever,
Yeah.
and then he just
the way he
snatches it. Yeah.
Yeah, like
And
very
then-
slowly,
and
like
like
kind of
once he
snags
grabs
it.
it, he
Yeah, he
pulls it
pulls it
back a
back.
little quick. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, you got some extra ammo there for your
Yeah.
little MP5 that you just stole in your
Never uses
1911. Never. I thought about that too. I was like, oh, that's gonna come
Yeah.
into play. Never used the MP5. Spoiler.
And a great little ad lib from him. He wasn't supposed to say anything when he sees the money.
Yeah.
And he said,
They take multiple takes.
He just goes.
Is it-
"Mm."
well,
He
or
just.
is
He
it
just.
some-
"Mm." And then. yeah,
which
he's
is so
so-
great.
Yeah.
because that
Almost
tells
like
you,
indifference. It's so weird because you see like a life-changing amount of money, even by today's standards. But this is 1980. This is, I mean, he doesn't know exactly how much is there, obviously, in
Yeah.
the moment, but it's like $2 million.
Mhm.
You'd see that kind of cash like physically in front of you.
With that same moment though, he I believe Josh takes credit for ad-libbing that.
Yeah.
But like in a funny way, like
Oh, yeah.
because it's not much, but he
Yeah.
does decide to do that.
I think it's
himself.
literally not even a line, just a little noise, a little
Mhm.
grunt almost.
But it's amazing.
Yeah.
It perfectly, all that emotion that.
Also, that satchel, same satchel that is in Fargo.
In Fargo, another
Oh,
Coen
yeah?
Brothers movie.
Oh, yeah?
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's fun. I didn't pick up that.
No,
I've
me
seen
either.
Fargo. I
I
love
should've.
Fargo, but
Yeah.
I didn't pick that up upon watching this,
Mm.
even though I've seen this multiple times as well. And yeah, I thought that was kind of cool. In
Yeah.
the research, I'm like, oh well, that's pretty neat. Nice little Easter egg. And there's
Yeah.
plenty of Easter eggs in this movie for Coen fans and for, I guess, just like story purposes. A lot of Easter
Mhm.
eggs, kind of foreshadowing and parallels. But again, we'll get
Every
into
shot
that
is
plenty.
intentional.
Yeah, well,
Everything
that's the
in a
thing.
shot is intentional.
Mhm.
And it's if you love film, you love this movie.
Yeah.
Because it's just a very thought out film. And let's just keep moving along, I guess.
Yeah. Let's keep the plot moving. Where do we go from here? Okay, so he gets the money.
It goes back home,
I
right?
assume we just get him going. Yeah, he get
What's in the
rides back home.
satchel? Full of money. I love that. Just like
Yeah.
it's just not being around it. Just it's
What did she say? She says, "That'll be the day," or
yeah,
something
yeah,
like that.
that is
Yeah.
such a great line. That'll be the day. Yeah. Oh, and I really do like their relationship.
Yeah.
And they
Mhm.
really do seem like they love each other. They banter very well. They know they kind of accept that this is their life that they're in, and
Right, and he's
he's like, no, like it's
this
not.
might. I mean,
Yeah.
this is his way out for
Yeah.
them, and it's like,
Mhm.
it's like that. That's the thing. The movie never paints Llewellyn as our good guy. He's our kind of first POV into a potential good guy, right? Or perhaps our protagonist. Although we find out later he's not really. But again, he's not a bad guy either. He does questionable things like stealing this money. It's not his
Yeah.
money to steal. And stealing money, I guess, would inherently be bad. But it's
Just
kind
the
of like
greed.
it's greed kind of consuming, perhaps even a good guy. Again, we don't know anything about his backstory.
Well, in the words of Carson Wells, he's just some guy that stumbled across, a crime scene. Like
Yeah.
just, he came across the money.
It was an opportunity.
Yeah.
I don't think that makes him a bad person.
No, I mean, you
at all.
see, like, no one around, this amount of money, I mean, who's gonna know, kind of thing.
And he's got
like,
good quality. I mean, he's not a. I mean, when you compare him to an Anton Chigurh,
Sure, yeah, it's very easy to go, oh, well, that guy's a great guy.
yeah, because he does love his wife.
Yeah.
He wants. He doesn't just take the money and bounce and just get out of town.
Right.
He wants this to be him and his wife.
Right. He's loyal.
He's trying to quickly figure out this plan, and
he's loyal. He's a provider. He's clearly hardworking. He's weathered. You know what I mean? Like I feel like we know later on that he was a Vietnam vet as well. He's probably seen and done some things too that most people will never have to experience, good or bad. And I think this guy's lived a long life, even though he's not old or anything like that. But it's like this guy's seen it. He's done it. And he still is looking out for, in this case, at least his wife. And it's like, he didn't kill anybody to get this money. He didn't do anything bad. He just, it was up for the taking, basically, at least in his eyes. So that's why he took it. I don't think it, I like that the movie makes him morally gray.
Yeah.
And again, we'll get to, so from there, he has the money. They go to bed for the night, and he's laying up in bed, and he's kind of just looking up at the ceiling, and he's like, what does he say? He's like,
just
oh,
says, all
hell.
right. No, he just says,
all right. Okay,
Yeah,
I thought he was like, oh,
looking
hell.
up, and
Yeah,
gets
so
up.
he gets up in the middle of the night,
Fills up
and
the
he starts
gallon of
filling up the
water.
jug of
Yeah.
water, and his wife comes out and is like, Llewellyn, what are you doing up?
Yeah.
I'm gonna do her voice every time.
Yeah.
It's so
That's
funny.
pretty good.
yeah,
That's pretty good.
And he says what does he say? He's just like, I have to take care of
yeah,
something.
yeah.
yeah.
And-
He's very honest with her. I mean, he's
Somewhat.
He's ambiguous about
He's
it.
very
Yeah.
vague.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
But he's not like lying, like, oh, I have to go
No,
do this
he's
and that.
not
But he's
lying.
I
like,
feel like if she asked, he would tell her.
if she really hounded him, he'd probably tell her.
Yeah.
But it's like, I think she trusts him enough too
Yeah.
to like, well, if he's got to take care of something, this is probably out of character for him. And because it's eating at him that he left this guy out there, the Mexican he had encountered earlier who was
Right.
asking for water. Well, that's why he's filling up the water jug, because it's on his conscience. He left the guy out there in the middle of the desert. He's gonna go take him some water. So he gets back to the
you got the great line of, if I don't come back, tell my mom I love her.
he's like and then she's like, Llewellyn, your mother's dead.
And then I'll tell her myself.
Yeah, he's like, yeah, exactly.
Like,
Well, he says, then you tell her, and then will be right before he leaves. He says, or maybe I will.
Or I think he said
Yeah.
something like, he's like, if I don't come back, then I guess I'll tell her myself or
Yeah.
something like that.
Right.
It's a hard ass line. I'm
Yeah.
not gonna
Yeah.
lie. I remember, I think I verbatim
Yeah.
said that during our
Yeah.
screening because I was like, God damn, who says something like that?
Right.
Who as hell? It's stupid if you think about it. Like, what do you mean? Are you gonna go die now? What like to her? Like, what does that
Yeah.
mean? That's insane.
I think she knows too.
There's something bigger at stake. And again, I think that comes into like that trust with their relationship. It's
Yeah.
like, okay, he's got some serious shit going on. Go do your thing, I guess. So he takes off. He goes back to the crime scene, if you will, and he approaches the truck previously where the man was. But this time, the glass in the truck is broken. It's pierced specifically by a bullet, obviously. It opens the door and the guy he's dead. So someone had murdered him.
Well, yeah, he notices right before he opens the door because he puts down the gallon of water and
Right.
is like checking it out, and then he opens it, notices this guy's shot again,
Mhm.
and then
So obviously that informs us and him. Oh shit! In the time that I was here, and I was back to my house, someone else is here. Killed this guy. Clean up the loose ends. That's bad for me. What I am in the kill zone, basically. And sure enough, he looks up back at the ridge where he parked his truck. Both times even. There's another truck right next to that truck. Guys are getting out. They're slashing his tires, and his look like, again, this guy is not like he's not prepared for something like this. This is not his life. And like, oh shit, that's the immediately when like I got into something I should not have. Because now these guys see him and they start driving down and stuff and they start shooting at him and he's trying to skedaddle. But I mean, there's only so many places you can go. He's just on foot too. I mean, his
Such
truck's
a
all
terrifying shot too of just seeing two cars pull up, and I love that every time it's the Mexican people because it's a truck with the lights on
with
top.
those lights on the mountain lights.
If
Yeah.
you see that, get out of there,
Yeah,
man,
get out of
because
there.
you're screwed.
Well, and so this what I was saying earlier about the I guess, alluding to a bigger threat, the Lobos, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that's literally what he was talking about. He might have been talking about, you know, like literal animals out there or whatever, but I think it was kind of like he brushed it off like there's no Lobos. He's being literal.
Or
But
like,
then it's
like a Los Lobos kind of thing. Like,
right, yeah, maybe it's even like, I don't know, but like some kind of, what would you say, like a pseudonym or whatever? Either way.
The gang. Like,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, there they are. Now the Lobos are here, so he wasn't bullshitting. You know what I mean? And so they're shooting at him, they're chasing him, and he's just, I mean, he's running for his life at this point. They're shooting at him from the truck and they're chasing him down. They're trying to run him down. And he gets to a little like valley that the river's running along.
Mm-hmm.
And just as he's approaching the river too, boom, they get him right in the shoulder. Topples over. I mean, he tumbles right down, but he kind of gets like, got hit with a shotgun from a distance. So those, you know, what would you say? Like pellets? Yeah. You know, I mean, it's not a lethal blow. I mean, it's still going to knock your ass over. Yeah, it still knocked his ass over too and sent him down the hill. But at the same time, it's not going to kill him.
I did want to mention with that, Josh Brolin at the time had a shoulder injury in that same kind of place.
If I'm not mistaken, I think it was a motorcycle accident that had happened 2 days after getting cast in the role.
Yeah.
And he was at the time was even trying to hide the injury because he's like, I need to be in this movie. I want to work with the Coens so bad that I'm not going to tell him I flew over my handlebars. That is insane. He like really fucked up his shoulder, but it ended up working into his character. I mean, that was already part of the plan for his character. It just happened to work out that way. But yeah, that's a nice little tidbit there of that shoulder injury. Topples into the water, or he topples down, gets into the water, and I mean, he's just being taken away by the water. But they have this dog, this pit bull. It just, I mean, just dude, the
dog is hauling.
Oh my god, he's cooking, man. He is moving after him and just like jumps into the water and he's like just swimming along, just doggy paddling, and he's just cooking downstream with him. Yeah. And you're like, dude, this thing is an unstoppable beast. You know, so then they get down to the bottom of the bank and the river bank and Llewellyn, you know, he climbs out, he goes out. He still has that 1911 on him in his waistband, pulls it out. And this is so cool with like the technical aspect of like the gunplay, I guess, in this movie, where he clears the chamber, drops the mag, blows out the water because he knows it's going to jam otherwise. So he's like blowing it out. The dog's humming, man. He's coming for him. And pops the mag back in, re-racks it, and then as soon as this dog jumps at him, I mean, just like leaps at his face, pops it. And this is where you're talking about the kick the dog moment.
Right.
Not a kick the dog moment in the traditional sense, but it does kind of, it's this gray area, right?
Kills it.
Exactly.
In a way
puts it down.
Like, it's justified, but also he does kill it.
But in conjunction to, you know, a traditional Western with that cliche.
Right.
It's a cool way to kind of, again, this whole thing, this neo-Western, right? It's a cool way to flip these genre tropes and take them at face value and then go, well, how could you make that a little more skewed? So where do we go from here? We finished that terrific scene.
This is probably the first time we see Sheriff Bell, right?
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I think you're right.
When he wakes up and he's loading up his horse.
Yeah.
And I love their relationship too.
Yeah.
The few times we get to see them, but he's loading up his horse and, you know, they're having a back and forth and she says,
Well, I believe, is that not a little bit after we see Shigor? Because when they approach, when the sheriffs approach, or the sheriff and deputy, they see the two upper management, and that's after approach of Shigor and the upper management.
I guess it is Shigor meeting up with the upper management.
Yeah, and we don't necessarily see that. We just see them pull up to the scene themselves as well. The whole shootout.
But you're right.
It's right after.
Yeah, I think
are you sure it's not Sheriff Bell loading up the horse, driving away, and then Shigor?
No, because that happens in the day. The Shigor and upper management thing happens at night because he gives them the
Sheriff Bell's in the morning, and then this is still at nighttime. So Shigor shows up with these two guys in suits.
Yep.
Again, pulling up to the same ridge that Moss's, Llewellyn Moss, his truck is still up there, obviously. They pull up there, they go down, they investigate the scene, they're looking at everything, And I mean, Tanner, you talk about this scene. I was talking about the whole.
I mean, they're just looking at it too, and then obviously we find out later on like who these two men were with Shiger were a little bit, but again they're just investigating it. They're kind of looking over the scene. They're seeing if the money is there, seeing if like the drugs are there, whatever. Seeing kind of what happened, and then they're kind of looking at the bodies, and Shiger like notices something on the body, and then he gives the flashlight to one of the men, and he's kind of just looking over it, and I believe that's when he gets the flashlight back, points it at him.
Well, he tries to use the tracker. That's where we first see the tracker.
Yeah, that's right. The upper management guys, they have the transponder.
Yeah,
That's right.
Yeah,
and that's where it's not showing anywhere nearby.
Yeah, it hadn't been blinking and stuff, and he turns it on and off just to see if it's maybe just not working or whatever. But yeah, obviously.
And then turns the flashlight on them.
Yeah, he gets a flashlight back, pointing at one of them, shoots one in the chest, shoots the other one in the head, and then that's pretty much the end of that scene right there. And then
but
that's
now,
when we
more
head
importantly,
into exactly the part where
he has the transponder now.
Yeah,
right.
So he has personally
that
tracked
was the whole point of that scene.
Right.
Was,
Yeah, just to give him the device, so now he's able to track the money.
Yeah. So here we get Sheriff Bell.
Exactly.
We get his
loading up his
introduction.
horse.
Right.
And
It's his wife's horse.
oh yeah,
Because he makes a point of like, she's like, you guys are gonna have to start paying me and stuff like that.
Oh, that's right.
And she's very protective over the horse.
Yeah.
They have a great bond.
Yeah.
And he even mentions to the deputy that he lets him ride it because he doesn't want to have any responsibility if that horse gets hurt. It's not on him. That's why.
Yeah.
What is their little banter?
Oh, yeah.
She's like,
I know it is.
She's like, don't get hurt,
Yeah.
and then he's like, I never do, and then he's like, don't hurt anyone else, and he's like,
shoot.
if you say so, or whatever.
Yeah,
or
he just kind of scoffs.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's pretty cute. It's a nice little scene. She doesn't get a lot of screen time, but I like their relationship.
There's just a lovely small town sheriff and wife couple that loading up the stable and headed to this crime scene, and then we get them strolling through the crime scene, right?
Right. Yeah. So it's him and his deputy.
Yeah.
They it's now daytime. They're looking over the massacre here that is taking place.
Oh, hell's bells.
Oh, hell's
they
bells.
shot the dog.
Yeah, everyone comments on the dogs. That's actually really funny.
Yeah.
They even shot the dogs. And then so they're looking over the crime scene. They're trying to investigate, like, okay, what, he's vetted enough to know, like, okay, this is a drug deal gone bad. He even goes up to the truck bed and like swipes a little of the heroin. He's like that Mexican brown. Mexican brown, whatever. and then the deputy notices the two guys in suits, and he's like,
he's the one that calls them upper management.
He's like, looks like these two are upper management.
Yeah.
So he knows they weren't a part of the original transaction, but they're still involved somehow, and they're not, they're higher up even, like, what is this about? So where do we go from here? Because it's like just establishing them getting involved with the investigation now. They don't have any other information aside from this.
I believe it goes into Sheriff Bell going back to like his sheriff's office, and then his assistant. They're kind of talking together, and he's just kind of giving the information of like the car that they saw. I think they found Anton's vehicle that was on fire. So if he ditches that one, and obviously just probably gets a new one. And so that's when we see him like kind of talking to the deputy about just kind of like the world and stuff, and he's kind of just giving his thoughts on it still.
I think, actually, now that I think about it, we might have missed a scene. Llewellyn returning back to his trailer home because
talking up the guns.
Yeah, he goes up and now he's retrieving the guns that he hid in his on the outside of his trailer home, and his wife's asking
Carla
him,
comes out.
Yeah, she comes out and she's like, what are you doing? And that's when he's kind of like, I need you to pack your things. Anything you have here that you don't take with you, you're never going to see it again. Like, I need you to pack your things and go to your mom's house in
Odessa.
And she's like, what the fuck? But he's like,
I think that's all we need to know from that.
Exactly. Exactly. He survived the whole incident.
Carla's on the move to Odessa, and Llewellyn's now bouncing to. He's looking to go to a motel.
I think, and he goes to Del Rio. So there's a motel in Del Rio. So he has the money. He leaves the trailer home because then we get Shiger. The tracker Well, I don't know.
We get
you know what?
Llewellyn kind of establishing himself at this motel a little bit.
Well, you know what it is? How he found because it's not the tracker that takes him to the trailer home. It's that he takes the serial number
Right.
off of his truck that was left up there. They got the tire slash that he never took
Right.
back.
Right.
He takes the serial number off of it, tracks that down,
He goes to the trailer home.
and he does
Right.
He pops the doorknob out of there
with the cattle prong.
and then sits there and drinks that milk like a freak.
We don't. Do we see him actually drink it?
I don't think so.
No,
You're
he
right.
just grabs
probably
it out
just
of the-
grabs it.
Because
But he sits there.
yeah.
And is that where we get a TV reflection
Yes.
shot? One of those great
Yeah.
shots in the whole
one
movie.
of two, and
One of
it's
two, 'cause
so
Yes.
so good.
Such
This one,
yes.
it looks like a horror movie shot where you, especially knowing that this is our main antagonist, and it's seeing this like silhouetted shot of his like basically just the outline of him, literally just a silhouette in this TV screen. It is haunting. I love that shot. That is like literally one of my favorite shots in the whole movie.
It's
He's
great.
sitting there with the milk, just
They
Yeah.
use a lot of reflection shots, a lot of shadows.
yeah.
I know we talked about that a lot during the screening, but
Well, this is where
these
we
dark
also see him
colors.
pick up some mail, which also comes into play later because we see him have the phone call.
Oh, the
history.
phone records, yeah.
And which is where he is able to see the calls to Odessa,
right.
to presumably the mom of Carla Jean.
Yeah. So he's kind of tracking this whole process. Like, where are these people going? Where is this money? Well, Odessa seems like a pretty good destination. That's got to mean something. Obviously, we'll find that out later. I mean, we know what it is, but he's going to find out later. So, Llewellyn, he's getting a motel room.
Yep.
To
And
hide out.
we watch him stash the cash in the vent
Yeah.
very cleverly.
Well, yeah. First, he goes to that store.
No, first he does stash it back there.
No, he
gets
stashes
like
it
the
first.
pole from the
From the hanger,
clothes rack,
the hanger pole.
and
Pushes
pushes it back there as far as he can.
He goes to the store when he gets the adjacent room.
Right.
That's right.
Because he needs rods
Yeah.
from a tent to saw together and or saw and put together to
Because
make like a
he
hook.
goes out because where does he go? Where does he leave the motel from? Because the whole point he gets the next room is because he comes back in the taxi.
Was
and
he
he's-
getting clothes?
He might have been getting
I know he
clothes.
gets clothes later, but that was but he does go there first time because that's how the guy knows him.
Where he goes doesn't really matter.
Yeah,
but
he
he leaves,
leaves.
comes back.
But specifically before he left, he closed the curtains.
He does.
He blacked it out. I mean, he
yes.
closed the curtains and then he takes off.
Yes.
When he comes back from running
We
his errands,
see the infamous trucks with the lights.
with the
on
lights.
top,
That's our biggest indication, obviously.
and then the curtain.
And the curtain's slightly moved.
Mhm.
It's enough to realize like someone was in there,
Yeah.
and I didn't do that. So he tells the guy to keep
And
driving.
lovely back and forth with the
And
guy.
the
He's
guy
like,
doesn't want
He's
any
like, I don't want to be. He's like, well, you're in it all. He's like, you're in it whether you know it or not.
and he gives him a hundo,
Yeah,
and he's
yeah,
like,
yeah.
he's like, take me to another motel.
Yeah.
Like, shut up. Like,
Yeah.
just take me out of here. Where do we go from there?
Well, and then I think he comes back and gets the adjacent room so that he
Okay.
can. Then he goes to the store, has the fun conversation with the
It's
with the
just like,
attendant
you
about.
can get the room right next to yours,
Yeah.
and he's like, I don't want that one.
Yeah,
Because
Well,
he
even
wants
the conversation with the tent. He's like the one with the most.
Oh,
clothes.
with the tent. Yeah,
Yeah.
sorry. Yeah,
He's
my
like,
bad.
well, we'd have to special order that. He's like, well, just give me a tent.
Yeah, he's like, well, if you give me
which
the
one?
model, I
Which
can.
tent? And
Yeah.
he's like the one with the most poles.
Yeah.
Well, he's like trying to order poles, and
Yeah.
he tells him, "Well, if you give me the model number,
Yeah.
then I could order the pole specially." And he's like, "Actually, I changed my mind. I just want a tent." And he's like, "Well, what kind of tent?" He's like, "The one with most poles."
Yeah.
He gets a shotgun.
Gets a shotgun. Yeah.
Saws that thing off.
Oh yeah.
Boom.
He's got the
Duct tape.
duct tape on
tape
his
and
grip.
makes
I
this
mean, he's got
look
the
real
kitted out.
cowboy. Like, and then maybe he had already gotten the room because he comes back because the Mexicans are in his room.
Right. Yeah.
When he's pulling
Yeah,
the,
so he
when
would
he's
have
pulling
already-
the suitcase
You're right.
in his adjacent room. And then Shigur's coming up with his transponder from the free. This thing's got crazy range because he's
It really does. Yeah,
he's
that's kind of
coming
nuts.
from the free was a beep.
Yeah,
Beep.
it's slight beeps.
Beep. And then he
knows,
drives
like,
past.
It's
he dri-
around.
He sees the motel, drives
Because
into
the
it.
beeps start speeding up very slightly
Yeah.
as he's passing the Del
and,
Rio
then
motel.
and then he uses his deductive reasoning to he's probably in a motel. Let me
Yeah,
buzz in here real quick.
right.
And then he's just driving past the room.
Each room slowly.
Beep, 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 beep. And then he drives past that room. Beep, beep. And then backs up.
dies a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
It
then
just-
slowly reverses and finds I think it's like what, like
I don't know.
Well, so
I think it was like
from
1730. Or I don't know.
oh,
No,
the
no,
actual
no,
room number.
no,
Yeah,
no,
I could have
That's what you were
that
thinking.
would be a good trivia question if
Yeah.
somehow we did enough research to remember that at all.
What was the room number?
What was the room
Yeah.
number? Any of the room
38.
numbers?
Yeah. I think it was like 130.
It was probably 138. Yeah.
I
Actually,
don't
might
think it
be
was
right.
a 4-digit.
No,
one.
it's not.
No,
It was,
I'm thinking of
it's a
Fetty
little
Wap, man.
motel
I'm thinking of
strip.
Fetty Wap.
I'm thinking of it.
but either way, so Shiger, he gets his own room, and what he's doing is he's basically anticipating,
Where each
breaking
man would be,
in and learning the layout of the room, and he does it a couple times, like quick, kind of, and turning on the lights, and then he even tests like the thickness of the wall,
Yeah.
basically prefacing his shotgun that he has, his silent shotgun, which by the way is a 1 of 1.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing like that existed in the world. It's purely for the movie, but silent shotguns do exist, or at least suppressed shotguns, suppressors for shotguns.
But nothing
But
like
I don't
that.
even think at the time suppressors were like a commonplace thing that you could just own for a shotgun, and they look very different than he's like chromed out,
Yeah.
like circular one. They're like these kind of like weird looking suppressors.
I saw that too, and I know exactly what you're talking about.
But so his gun is very, very cool looking. It's weird, but it's like exactly, it's like you want something with some spread, but you still got to be as quiet as possible.
Yeah.
So he has that. So yeah, he's kind of testing the thickness of the walls too to see if he could shoot through them and they'd penetrate. So from there, then we get him removing his boots. He's in his socks and he's just walking down in the dead of night, to the room that he presumes that well, I guess he doesn't even know who Llewellyn really is or anything like
But
that.
he
He knows where the money is, or at least it should be. And he busts in the room and shoots that first guy, just smokes him on the bed. That guy gets
flies back.
blasted, dude. See, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
I want to see someone get blasted. Talked about that a few episodes ago.
Yeah.
Gotta hear. Great. And
Yeah.
then that second dude pulls out with his sub and he just smokes that guy too.
he shoots behind the wood first.
Oh,
and there's
on the
no
wrong
one-
side. Yeah.
Well,
on, like,
because the door's
closet.
closed.
Yeah.
He shoots through it. Well, no, there's no one there.
Yeah,
Behind
no one
it.
drops.
But that's when the other guy opens the door, and then he starts to fire.
Yeah.
and then he gets shot by Shigur.
So he's even anticipating someone potentially being there who
Yeah.
ended up not, but maybe someone could be hiding there. No one was. But yeah, you're right. Because he almost gets got because of that. Because he shoots that first shot. Then this guy pops
Yeah.
out. He has to cock it again.
And
but
then he's just shooting up in the air, and then
yeah.
that's when we see
Well,
Llewellyn hear
yeah.
the shots,
And
and
while
he's
this
like,
is going down, he's trying to
he's
get
grabbing
his
the adjacent room,
yeah, the
trying to get
satchel, and
the-
he's like, wait, what was that?
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know?
And yeah, so he's in the adjacent room trying to get it out of the duct,
Mhm.
and then there's the last guy, and I love his process here. I know
Mhm.
we've talked about this a lot with Anton. He's like a weirdly like clean guy.
Hates the
Or he's like,
blood.
yeah,
Oh yeah.
or at
And
least getting it on
the guy's
himself.
Right.
the guy's like, and he's
Well,
just like
when
in
he
the-
sees him through the mirror.
Oh,
the
you're right, he
broken
sees his
mirror,
arm,
and
like,
then
just-
he pulls it back.
and then he goes in there, and the guy's just like, he's in the shower. He's
He
literally in
doesn't
the
speak
tub. He's in the
English,
tub, and he pulls the shower curtain
Yeah.
and just shoots him through that, so it just splatters.
Dude, that
on
is
the,
like such a menacing.
that's
thing.
crazy. Like he doesn't
yeah.
even think about it. He just like pulls it and just boom. And so Llewellyn makes off with the money.
I think he asked that guy. He's like, "How'd you find it?" And then he repeats what he had said in Spanish, and then he's like, "Oh, okay, this guy." That's when he
Okay.
shoots him.
So yeah, so he takes off. Llewellyn takes off with the money. Because
And
he
then
still had it in the.
We probably get a cut from these two's back and forth.
I'd
this cat
assume
and
yeah, it
mouse.
probably gets broken up.
Is this when Sheriff and Deputy Wendell are at the diner and he's
Mm.
telling him the story about the guy getting shot with the kind of the same thing that with the cattle thing?
Oh yeah, he's talking about the
and
the-
then Wendell laughs and he's like, "It's all right. I laugh sometimes myself."
Mm.
And it's just like it's a very kind of a nothing scene.
Well, I
but
believe
also,
the deputy is the one that presents the information about the guy on the road that Shiger stole from and
Okay.
shot.
Oh,
him.
yeah, 'cause he's saying
and
that
he's
there's
telling
no
him, he's
bullet.
like, "There's no
Right.
exit wound,
right,
and it wasn't a bullet."
right.
And then that's when he's like, "What is it then?" And then
Yeah, you're right. And so that kind of starts, he gets the gears turning up there like, okay, wait, I think, this guy's not using a gun then.
yeah.
And I think he might be using one of these, cattle prongs. Not that matters too much because, I mean, even if you know that information, you don't know how to find the guy, you don't know where he's at.
Mhm.
But it is a nice kind of like, they're kind of putting the pieces together. Again, they're investigating this as best they can, but there's only so much that he can do. I think from there they
Did
might
they go visit?
they might go see the trailer home.
And it's
yeah.
important. That little scene is important because he sees how sugar will enter a place.
Exactly. Yeah, they see that the lock's busted out.
Launching them, and he sees it in the wall. Sees it's not in the door anymore.
Before they go in, though, he so Wendell is up against the door and he has his gun drawn. He's ready to break in there.
Well, actually, the Sheriff Bell tells him to get his gun.
Oh, you're right. Yeah, he's like, draw your gun. Yeah.
He says guns up and out or something like that.
So he tells him to draw his gun.
And he's like, what about your gun?
Yeah, and then he's like, what is this?
I'm behind you.
Yeah, I'm behind you. Because he doesn't carry a gun. Again, he's like that old school sheriff. He's talking about in that opening narration that sheriffs before him, in the olden days, they wouldn't even carry guns. It wasn't.
They wouldn't have to.
Yeah. So he still lives by this non-violent kind of mantra of like, I can still do my police work without having to necessarily shoot up anybody. Either way, they enter. No one's there, of course. Then they're talking. Well, that's when they discover the lock, busted through. And he's kind of like just looking at it, like, how could it get this far? And it like literally left a dent in the wall.
Mm-hmm.
And from there, this is when Bell takes a seat and he gets the milk that Shiger had left out. Yeah, he mentioned he's like, it's still sweating.
Yeah.
So it's the condensation of the glass. He's like, oh, we just missed him. He's like, yeah, I know. And
and then you get the great scene of him sitting down.
Now
with
you
the
get
TV
that shot,
reflection.
right?
And he actually drinks the milk.
Yeah.
He does drink the milk.
We see that. Yeah.
Well, he's like, should we call this in? He's like, what are you gonna call in? Some guy's drinking milk or something like that. And it's pretty funny. But I love that. Again, both those shots, they're like weirdly ominous. Obviously, in the case of Anton, just because he's a scary guy. But even in the case of Sheriff Bell, you're looking at it, it looks weirdly like foreshadowing in some way. I don't even know how to say it. It's a very cool shot, but it's very haunting. And obviously that's one of the two shots that we get in that reflection. Very cool. Where do we go from there?
From there, it probably goes to Llewellyn getting the new motel, right?
Yeah, you're right.
And then he
okay.
Is it?
Yeah, it is. So he goes to the it's a border town.
Hotel.
Oh, it's a hotel. Yeah, you're right. And he asks because he's in a little more of a modern city.
Mm-hmm.
Big distinction.
No, it is for sure.
No, it literally is because this has like an inside, like kind of
And he's talking to the guy, and he says, "If somebody comes in here looking for me, does he say let me know?" Or?
Yeah, he's like, it ain't the police.
Yeah.
Well, he's like, if it's any John with a swinging dick, I want you to call me.
Yeah.
And he gives him a little extra.
He's like, I'm not in trouble.
There's nothing illegal. Yeah. He's like, I'm not hiding from the police. There's nothing illegal. But he slips him some money, and he's like, if anybody walks in here, like if anyone checks in tonight, I want to know about it.
That guy doesn't even
because he knows he's being tracked. Yeah, and from there, we're in his hotel room. He decides to look in the satchel of money.
The Tanner's relief, finally.
Yeah. Oh my God, that was so funny when we were watching.
I do want to mention because he's looking out of that hotel window and just kind of overseeing the layout of what's outside there and like the road and everything. But that's when we also see the painting that will be foreshadowed later on. But yeah, so he's going to bed, and again the same shot like when he decided to make the decision to bring that guy water. We get the same scene of him looking up and him not going to sleep, and then he kind of like he says something else right there. I can't remember what he says exactly, but that's when he makes the decision to like look in the satchel.
Yeah. Because he realizes like there's got to be some reason how they're catching up to me so fast and so accurately. Like they're like finding me everywhere I go. It doesn't matter.
Well, I know Tanner's too kind to bring this up, but I will because while we were watching the movie, Tanner says, "Why hasn't he looked in the thing yet?" And I said, "Like you think they have tracking technology in the 1980s?"
And then I believe you might have said, "Well, how would he even know what that is?"
Mm-hmm.
Which we find out he does know exactly what that is.
Boys.
But that's where we get it. That's where
I can't believe we've skipped over one of the most important scenes in this whole movie.
God, I'm not even thinking of what it is. What is it?
The gas station.
Oh my God, we actually did skip over the gas station owner. Yeah. Well, Seth, break us down, please.
We need to talk about this.
Iconic.
This is his. I think this is.
We'll come.
This is the
We're
first
gonna come back to the
person-
hotel. I swear to God, we're gonna just touch on this and we're
Quite
gonna go right
literally
back.
one of the most iconic scenes in the
if
movie.
you
That's
sat through
so
this entire
funny.
thing and you're mother effing us for not talking
Oh,
about
you're
this,
probably raging right now, which I completely understand. Let us know in the comments.
We're trying our best.
Tell us in
Yeah.
the comments.
We're
We need to do better.
drinking.
we're thinking
a fair
about
amount.
we're trying not to forget the nuanced parts of this movie and not the important ones.
Right.
So-
Well, but this one has a fair amount of nuance
Yes,
in
yes.
the
So-
presentation.
This is when he's got the person that he swapped with the squad car,
Mm-hmm.
and he's going to the gas station to fill up, and it's him, and he's in the gas station talking to this clerk, and he says he's asking him, basically he's the clerk definitely feels threatened, but he hasn't said anything really threatening. He's asking him, what time do you close? He said, well, now. He says, well, now's not the time. What time do you close? He says, when it gets dark.
Yeah, like generally around dark.
Yeah.
You don't know what you're talking
You
about.
don't know.
Do you? And he's like, what? He's
Yeah.
like, you don't know
But he's
what
like
you're
making him
talking
feel like an
about.
idiot
Yeah.
because he knows that he knows he's in danger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
He's
he's it's like, bro, you're trying to get out of
And
this.
then he's like, what time do you go to sleep? He's like, sir?
he's like, you're
What
deaf,
time do you
aren't
go
you?
to
Or he's
sleep?
like,
Yeah.
you're a bit deaf, aren't you? And he goes, I guess around 9:30 or so.
Yeah.
I'm not too sure.
How,
And then
how much have you ever lost on a coin toss?
that's when it's like,
Yeah.
oh no.
It says, sorry?
When he goes on friendo at the beginning,
Yeah.
I love that because it's so funny because he's friendo.
Yeah. Friendo. And he's at all this time he's eating peanut.
Yeah,
one
he's
by
just like,
one.
and he's like,
The
yeah,
way
one
he's
by
eating it,
one, and
man.
just like
It's like
tossing.
put it on the edge of his lip.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
literally like inserting them, like kind of like
Yeah.
and oh god, it's so unnerving.
Yeah.
And then he asks him like, "What's the most you've ever lost in a coin toss?" And he, Sir,
Sir, I
He's
don't
like,
know.
what's the most you've ever lost in a coin toss?
Mm.
He's like, I couldn't say.
Yeah.
And then
And then he said he asked him to call it. He's like, I need to know what I stand to lose.
Yeah.
He says everything. I didn't know what I'm putting up.
Yeah.
He says everything. You've been putting it up your whole life. You just didn't know it.
Yeah.
And you're just
well,
like, oh my
what did he say about the
gosh.
coin? This is the first time we get an indication of the actual year
Yeah.
that this takes place because
Oh,
he
yeah, he
mentions
says
the coins from 1958,
Yeah.
and he says it's
It's
traveled
been
all this
traveling
way.
for 22 years.
Yeah, it's been traveling for 22 years to this, basically to this moment.
Yeah.
And this guy, I mean, if you know Coen Brother movies, that he gets all these people that look so unique.
Oh, we
Oh,
can
I
talk about
know.
another scene too
Yeah,
with that, but
yeah.
I'll touch on that in
Oh,
a second,
yeah,
I guess.
I know
But
what you're talking about.
yeah,
too.
you already know what I'm
I
talking
was
about
thinking
because it
about
does
that.
play in.
These people that just look so authentic and real.
I think I
and-
said that during the screening about the other scene.
Yeah.
I was like, "This is the most Coen Brothers
Yeah.
The
ass
lady.
fucking casting I've
Yeah.
ever seen in my
Yeah.
life." It's so funny. They get these like
Yeah.
oddballs out of nowhere that are really good actors. To be fair, like these people, like they're real actors,
Mhm.
but not in the traditional sense where you think of someone like it's just like almost unbelievably like handsome or,
They
or
fit the
beautiful.
setting.
Yeah, exactly. They're very authentic in that way.
And
Um,
so he plays the game with him. He calls heads, gets heads, and the way he treats him with this coin after he says no, he's like
Yeah, he starts putting it in his pocket. He's
don't
like,
put it in
"Don't put that in your
He's like,
pocket."
he's like, that's not just any other coin. He's like that's an important coin. He's like, but it might just be a coin. And the way
Yeah,
he
he's like,
looks at him,
that it's like the meme.
yeah,
Like you ever seen that like reaction of him like
yeah,
he's like face getting all scrunched.
Right,
It's so funny.
right.
We're gonna put that in.
and then the way he puts the wrapper crinkled and
I
then
know,
it
he just-
expands. I can't believe we didn't talk about it.
I know.
It's such an important scene, such into the psyche of this dude, and because this is like really the first back and forth you've had with him.
Yeah,
Like
'cause
if
well,
this guy never even like said anything to him, would he have had this conversation with them?
yeah,
No.
I'm curious about
Like
that.
I just feel like he kind of almost
Oh no,
like
because he asked him, "How you doing?" He's like, "Why are you asking me
Yeah.
that?" Like presses
He
him
did
on
also
that
yeah,
mention-
that's what I
he
mean. It's
mentioned
like
the
it's
license
almost
plate,
like
though.
he just said the wrong thing to him, and
Yeah.
now he gets into his life like,
right.
you live here? Like
Yeah.
how long?
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, you
You're
married
married
into
into
it?
this?
It's like if that's how you want to put it, he's
Well,
like, there's no way to put it. That's how it is.
Well, when he asked him, you married into this? And then he kind of says, yeah, whatever. And then, but like when he answers, he's like,
oh, he like kind of
he, like,
chokes
pop-
on. Yeah, he like
chokes on it,
chokes
like-
on his peanut
like
or
in
whatever.
disgust
Yeah.
of like, oh my
like
god,
like of the monotony of it all. I
Yeah.
guess, and he's just like, this is your life. You
Like,
married into
oh.
this.
But
You work at,
he
like
almost decides to give him that coin toss thing as like a mercy
yeah,
thing.
like
If
pity.
he, yeah,
Almost like, all right, dude, I'll
dude,
let
I'm
you
putting
fight
on
for your life here,
mercy with
heads or
this. Like, what
tails.
kind of life is this
Yeah.
kind of thing?
Because that again, his first interaction, well, even first two interactions, I suppose, those guys didn't get a chance. The
Right.
sheriff's deputy, obviously, he was trying to break out, so he had to kill him. Second guy, he just smokes him with the cattle prod.
I
and
think
he's
that's
out
the
of there.
randomness of the character.
That's what I'm
that's a
saying. He
testament of,
has
like,
these principles and this
he has no
logic,
pattern.
but his logic
Uh-huh.
doesn't make any sense.
Just
Yeah.
like we have
It's-
no pattern, because
I
I think it's important, while we're on this, before we get back to the hotel.
Yeah, we will get back to it. I
think
promise
we
you.
need to mention the lady that
Yes.
that he's trying to press for Llewellyn's information and where he's going, and she don't back down. She stands there. She said,
Oh,
"I ain't
dude.
giving you that information."
She
can't
like
give you
runs like
information.
she's like the I guess manager maybe of
Yeah,
the
the
property
trailer
manager of the
park,
trailer
yeah.
park
Yeah.
where Llewellyn had his trailer at, and she's like, I don't give out any information.
Yeah.
And he's like, he's like just
He keeps reiterating the
Yeah.
same question, like tell me, or like he's like tell me.
and she's
And he's
like,
I
and she like kind of like
Yeah.
gives him like
Yeah.
a look like, I'm not gonna tell you.
And
I can't. I'm not at
he kind
liberty
of
to say.
respects that
Well,
she's like not backing
now
down.
there's two aspects to that, because there's a flush of a toilet.
So there's someone else
background.
there.
Right.
Yeah.
So he goes, okay, well, if I kill this lady, this could be a problem, because I'm either gonna have to kill this person,
Yeah.
or they see me and I,
This
whatever.
other guy could get away,
or they could take
whoever.
me down or whatever.
Yeah,
I
there,
never
there
know.
could be many things, but
Right.
I think I do want to believe that he
Yeah.
was like, because she's so stuck like on the rules and like the principle of this
Principles,
rule
exactly.
that like it's almost like I kind of got to respect.
Yeah,
it.
it's like that's fair.
Yeah.
Actually, all right.
he's like, I'll work a little harder.
Yeah.
I'll
I
Yeah.
like to believe the same thing. I
Yeah,
think I think that's kind of a funny way of looking at it, because
It's like obviously we see
She
him have
never
no
backed down.
problem with multiple people being there. Like he would smoke either one.
Yeah.
But I do want to believe it's that.
but it's
aspect
almost
of
like
it.
she was so she was never scared.
No, dude.
She was like just annoyed, if anything. Like no, I am not allowed to give out this information, and she like reiterates like I ain't allowed to give out information.
I love her look.
Yeah, again,
Yeah.
Coen Brothers, they're casting direct. I don't know if they're in charge of casting themselves. I assume
Yeah.
they have obviously main roles and stuff, but
It's got to be
like
the same
casting
people that work
director
with them
or
every
any
time,
like casting
'cause-
department. Very, very good job. It makes you feel like you're in this.
her
in this
hair and
world. Yeah,
everything, yeah.
her hair. Yeah, she's great in the little scene she gets.
Well, I hate to say it, but you might have to get used to this way of breaking down a movie, because this is just how we like to do it.
Bear with
Guys,
us.
we have a week to prepare.
And this is what we
and
come to
we're,
you with.
We're drinking. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry,
okay?
but we covered it, so you can't knock us for that.
That's true.
We got
We
around
mentioned
to
it.
it, and we're getting back to the hotel here, because Anton does bypass the clerk lady at the hotel or at the trailer park, and he
Right.
does find her. It does or find him. It doesn't matter. He catches up with him,
Exactly.
and we get.
So let's go back to the hotel.
we're
then.
back at the hotel.
You guys caught up? Okay, cool.
All right. Cut.
We're back at the hotel.
If you took a piss break there, go ahead.
That's great. Yeah, I mean,
we're getting back to the meat here.
well, see, it'd be bad if they did, because then they just missed that iconic gas station scene that they were pissed about before.
Now
They're
you're
like, "Oh, I'm gonna take a
commenting,
piss."
where am I ever going to get this scene?
And they missed it.
Yeah.
Leave it in the
Oh
comments.
well, we're back.
below.
Yeah, exactly. Leave it in the comments.
Either way,
please.
we're here in this awesome scene that we did not forget.
So bring us back,
Yes,
Seth, to
yes.
the hotel.
Let's round it in. He finally decides to look at the tracker, or find a to investigate the
Right.
briefcase.
Yeah.
Like, look at the money.
Yes, he finally decides that this might be a good idea, because how do I keep getting caught up with? Finds a tracking device, and this light blinks a red light, and the transponder blinks a green light, and he sets it there, and then really shortly after that, you start hearing the beep come from the hallway, right?
Mhm.
Well, actually, yes. But right before that happens, he actually hears a faint noise. And actually, I watched I can't
Is that
remember
the
the
guy
name of the
getting
channel,
killed?
but they enhance that noise, and it is, you could hear it's his shotgun shooting. a
Oh,
clerk.
really?
Yeah, they
Oh,
enhance.
that's
Because
really
you could hear
cool.
it. You could hear a faint one, and that's when he kind of like pops up
Yeah.
and like.
Well,
looks
that's when
that
he
way.
decides to get like
But
next
that
to the
noise
door.
is the shotgun killing the clerk.
That's
Yeah.
crazy. I didn't
Yeah.
know that.
Yeah.
I've seen this
That's
movie
awesome.
multiple
I know.
times. I've never
But
caught
yes.
that.
That's great.
But
That's good stuff
you
there.
were on track. You were on
Yeah.
track.
Okay,
Sorry, I
so
wanted to
you
mention
hear the beep, beep, beep. He doesn't know. I mean, at this point, he's got
Yeah,
the tracker.
now he knows.
He knows that
Right.
that must be that.
Yeah.
And beautifully, like, sets it up there on the table.
Oh, sorry. Another thing
Go ahead,
before. It's the same scene where he
God.
finds the transponder, and I noticed something like within where the transponder was in between the stack of money, in between it was cut out, like the middle of the stack. But
Yeah.
the ones that were cut out were ones. And
Yeah,
not
yeah, yeah.
hundreds.
Yeah.
And
I
I thought
noticed that too.
I thought that was kind of funny, just because it's like, oh, these guys don't even want to waste hundreds if they don't have to.
Yeah.
Obviously, if
I
you're cutting
noticed
it
that as
out,
well.
it's like, I
That's
just
funny.
I just thought that was
Yeah.
kind of funny.
No, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, come on.
Really not hard to find if all you had to do was look into it.
It was like two
It
stacks
was like
down.
two stacks in. Yeah, it wasn't even at the bottom of
Yeah.
this thing. And I know, okay,
Yeah.
during our screening, Tanner, you're like, why wouldn't he like check this or like take it out of the satchel? Or you're going on and on. And I was like, well,
Yeah, I know.
hey, maybe you shut the hell up. We'll
Yeah.
find out why that is.
Yeah, and we
And he
do.
does. To be fair,
it's
logic,
a fair
because you would have
critique
found that
and
pretty
observation.
quickly.
Yeah.
What do you do at that point? You just toss that tracker, as far as you drive out, and you just launch it and then
You
go
would have
back.
been halfway to Los Angeles already.
I would have
Oh,
found it
you
as
would've been in
soon
El
as I saw
Paso.
the satchel where the guy was under the tree.
You would have been in El Paso and you would have been good to go. But unfortunately,
Well, that's
not
why
the
they're
case
not
for
making
all.
movies about you.
True. Too
And then-
smart for movies.
Yeah.
Too smart for the Coen Brothers, huh?
Yeah.
Okay, so this scene. Okay, so
and
it's a
Too smart for
we,
Cormac. Sorry.
yeah, exactly.
Just kidding. I'm just kidding.
And we get Anton walking up. The beeps are getting more frequent, and you get his shadow through the door, and Llewellyn leans down to see if he can see anything or hear anything better, I guess.
Yeah.
And then he sits back up, grabs his piece, and kind of just sits with anticipation. He hears him cock his gun.
No, it's just like the
Oh,
little.
it's
yeah.
right, it's a
Yeah.
little lever.
Yeah.
Hears
Here's a
that,
click.
cuts the lights off, and now
Well,
it's
you see the shadow of his
and he
feet
moves.
just move, and obviously he's in his socks.
Yeah,
He's just
Yeah.
barefoot, and then that's
he
when we
cuts
see
the lights,
light.
and
Yeah.
then as an audience member, you're just
Dude,
sitting
the
there like
anticipation
you're just
of it all.
on the edge of your seat saying what you know it's about to go down, but it's that build up, and you're sitting there watching him sit there and said, dude, you don't know that this dude knocks doorknobs out of things with an air.
Dude, the stress
Oh my
that I
gosh.
got from that scene was like the suspense of it all.
See, and it's
so
like the use of
terrifying.
use of shadows.
Yeah, dude.
It's like using
Beautiful.
the lighting is so unbelievable.
And I believe any more novice director would have shown Anton on the other side.
I can see
I
that.
believe there's a world where a director shows him looking at the door from his angle.
Is it that
and-
kind of like idea of like the less
Yeah.
you see of the
Yeah,
monster,
and
or
I
whatever,
think
the
that would-
scarier,
that
We
would-
see
right?
that with them with the cartel when he shoots those guys, when he's outside of that and he's like listening in to see if he could hear anything,
Mhm.
but we don't get that with him and Moss. So
Right.
that's a cool little.
Yeah, you got to
good
keep
point.
the ambiguity to
Yeah.
Moss because he still hasn't seen this guy yet.
Mm.
And then he goes to the chest,
dude.
knocks him back. He pops off around and it's on. He hops out the window and the watching breakdowns of this, talking about the geography and the awareness of geography
Mhm.
in this scene of knowing that you never feel out of place. You never are confused where they are
Yeah.
in this whole scenario.
Well, it certainly helps that he jumps out the window, right? Lands on the street. He goes back into the hotel.
Yeah.
yeah.
And then so this is where we
That's
find
very
that
smart to do that.
the
Clerk.
yeah.
clerk
In the
or
milk.
the hotel manager or whatever you want to call him.
Mhm.
He's been killed. Clearly, the milk is the cat, right?
Yeah.
Is like, well, there's a little cat there, and see that's the kick the dog where it's like he spared this cat,
Mhm.
which obviously most people would, but this guy clearly has no problem killing anything in his path, and the cat is completely spared. We'll get to that later as far as what he doesn't try to spare or whatever, but he notices that like that shot is very deliberate where
Mhm.
you kind of see the aftermath of whatever happened here for him to get into the hotel and approach his room. And he goes out the back. They're out there. And where do we go from there? Because then now we have our
Oh, now he hauls out. He almost shoots him, or he does clip him in the leg while he's running away. Anton clips Llewellyn,
right.
and then he's running away, finds shelter behind a car.
Oh no! Well,
No,
first
no.
he's
He's running down the alley of the other exit,
Right.
and then that's when he starts shooting again, and then he hides behind that like wall,
That wall.
and then
Yeah.
that's when he decides
gets in
to.
front of that truck, right?
Yeah, he's
The
like
truck
hiding
coming.
behind there.
Oh, you're
truck
right.
comes,
Yes.
Yeah.
Gets into that.
and then so the truck is coming.
Yeah, he's
And
like, I'm not
you-
gonna
you
hurt
could
you. He
take it from
basically
here.
takes
Right.
this
Yeah,
guy's
hops
truck,
into the
but
truck.
then that guy gets hit right in the back
Yeah.
of the
He's
like,
like, "Don't worry, I'm not gonna hurt you."
Basically
And then,
gets sniped
he
with
gets
that
like hit
shotgun.
like through the neck,
through the neck, yeah.
and he's just like dying.
Mhm.
So he like kind of pushes him over and he starts peeling out in the truck.
Because the shots are coming from behind him.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so Llewellyn takes off in the truck, takes this guy's truck. And then I had mentioned during the screening that so he turns a corner. Well, he overturns and crashes right out because we're like, oh, he's long gone. And then he crashes into these other cars on the side of the street, just head on, basically. And I was like, well, that's an older truck. It didn't have power steering. I guarantee you he's like leaning over trying to steer the thing. Yeah. He'd have to pull it back. The car's not going to do it for years, by itself at the time with the older vehicles. So he crashes right into into these cars on the side of the road. And then from there he gets out. That's when he takes cover. Because now he's just waiting for Anton. Anton sees that the truck has crashed. Obviously,
he sees the trail of blood from Moss.
Yeah, and now this is an interesting flip on him, Llewellyn, at the beginning of the movie when we're first introduced to him being the hunter.
The hunter, yeah.
Right, and tracking the blood trails to being the hunted.
Yeah.
And then the exact opposite happens. Exactly, it flips right back because then they have their little gunfight where Llewellyn pops out. And he gets a piece of
pretty acrobatic dive from Anton. Dude,
he's nuts. He like fully dives, and then he
drops his gun.
Yeah, and he vanishes too.
Oh,
after that, because then he looks down the alley and like
he's out of it. But then I think even Moss kind of like looks down the alley and was like, "I'm not going down the alley." Get the hell out of here.
But this is that otherworldly feel about Anton's character that you had mentioned, where it's like, where the fuck did he go?
Ghost, man.
Where did he go? He's like a phantom. He just, but. It's that blood trail, that kind of, I don't know what you would call that really, but it's those parallels between these characters and what it means to hunt somebody, to track somebody. Mm-hmm. But then also now you're being tracked and then you can flip it back. But either way, you're still being, you're still the target.
And now,
great scene.
Now we got these two guys both banged up from this gunfight, going their separate ways to try and figure out how to deal with this. You get Llewellyn crossing the border. Tosses the briefcase of money right on the bank of the Rio Grande.
Rio Grande mentioned again.
There you go. Goes into Mexico. And then you have Anton going and he...
Well, so we see, it's like we do get Llewellyn first and his aftermath of that whole instance. Yeah. You're right. He sees the border and stuff. He's all covered in his blood, but also that other guy's blood that was in the truck. And he looks like hell. Like he looks like he just came from a car crash, right?
Or you want to talk about those guys?
Man, I want to talk about it because that's when I think it's important. It's a little noted thing.
It's important to talk about this.
He's obviously injured. He has the satchel with him. He's walking across the border bridge. And these three, presumably high schoolers, come in because the jacket that he buys off of them is actually Templeton High School, which is a actual high school in El Paso, I believe. And it's a little nod to that.
I think you're right.
Yeah. And anyways, these three guys are coming his opposite direction, going back to the U.S. And anyways, that's when he buys the coat, but then he also wants beer.
They really fleece him for all that stuff.
And we see later on where money comes into play too as well. But that's when he gets the coat, whatever. But I think at this point he had already decided to. No, it's right after these guys leave that interaction. That's when he tosses the briefcase.
Tosses the money.
Yeah,
passes by the border patrol.
That guy's asleep.
The guy's like half asleep, and then he just like
he kind of looks at him.
He's like just all in the jacket, kind of walking past him. I do want to mention when he's awakened the next day in Mexico by the mariachi band.
Yeah.
The words.
Oh yeah.
Song,
I can't remember what it was.
I had it pulled up
okay, good.
Because I couldn't remember exactly either. It's a
good.
song that they're singing to him passed out.
They're almost like mocking him.
They are, but it directly correlates to the story of the movie.
Right.
The words directly translate to: you wanted to fly without wings, you wanted to touch the sky, you wanted too much wealth, you wanted to play with fire.
That's so
It's this guy getting caught up in something that he should have never even touched. It was all the greed that consumed him. And now, I mean, look at him. Where's he at? He's on the ground waking up, shot and bloody.
And that's when they stop.
Well, once they see that he's like
and they're like,
and it's
this isn't just like
they
some
literally
homeless
stop
guy or whatever.
Playing at him. Yeah,
or
they're
some
like
drunk guy that
him.
fell asleep on the side.
But then he gives them money. He's like, he tells them the hospital.
Yeah.
Take him to the hospital. So he goes to the hospital. This is also when Shiger. So it's kind of a back and forth between the two. Again, with them recovering from their epic battle.
Yeah.
And Shiger is
He's in his
outside of
vehicle.
a
Yeah.
well, he's outside of
The pharmacy.
the pharmacy.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Also, a little Coen Brothers thing. Apparently, this pharmacy, now not the actual location of it, but because
name.
I think
The name,
they grew up
yeah.
in Minneapolis.
Yeah.
The name of it, they recreated it. I think in Santa Fe. Again, New Mexico. This movie was filmed in Mexico, so that's cool. But it was they recreated this little pharmacy in Santa Fe, and that's where they kind of filmed this scene
Yeah.
to do that. But he goes up to a car that's on the side of the road, and he opens the little gas tank, right, and stuffs a shirt down there, or some
Yeah.
kind of fabric.
It's like the like sleeve of a shirt.
The sleeve of
Yeah.
a shirt, yeah, a little
Yeah.
extra fabric from a shirt, dips it in the gasoline, then lights it on fire. So he puts it in the gas tank for it to blow up.
Yeah, that's
Right.
one of my favorite shots in the whole
I know.
movie. Just because the way he's walking in, and you
When
can
it comes
just,
back.
you just still see the little light of the fire.
Yeah.
in the car. He's just
And how nonchalantly
Yeah,
he's
yeah.
just,
Well, and he's like
anticipating
stumbling
every
in there
move.
because his
Yeah.
leg is, you know,
Yeah.
he's been shot, and he's like stumbling in, and then it explodes. And the way they had the
Well,
glass break
yeah.
too was really cool.
I wanted to mention because we don't know he's shot. Like we see the trail of blood, but like we don't know like the damage of it.
Yeah,
yet.
we don't know where
But then
he's shot.
We do see it when he's coming up to the gas tank and opening it. Him walking up to it, we see him limping, and then we see the how bad it was.
Right.
Yeah,
and then
that
he
was
gets his
kind of
meds,
interesting.
and then we get naked Bardem repatching himself,
Oh.
showing no pain whatsoever to these. Like
It's so
I
clinical.
grimaced when he poured alcohol on his open wound. I was
Well,
like,
there was a bit of hesitation when he's in the bath, where he's
Yeah.
like kind of going in slow.
Yeah.
There's that.
It's
you know?
usually, yeah, he'll hesitate on that, but then with the alcohol, where it's
Yeah,
gonna like
yeah.
kind of burn on the
Yeah.
open. I mean, these are gunshot wounds.
he's just
He just like takes it,
Mhm.
you know, and it
Yeah.
yeah, great
Psycho.
scene. But yeah, I
Yeah.
love that he's like, I mean, literally sitting how I'm sitting right now,
yeah.
where he's on the
Yeah.
toilet, with fucking obviously
Yeah,
he's
you
completely
are.
naked, and he's just
Yeah.
like, you know, just like operating on himself
Yeah.
with and then he's like,
Surgical.
and he has these syringes,
I mean-
he has all this medication that he stole from this pharmacy with the distraction of the explosion, and yeah, he's like injecting
this-
himself.
yeah.
All of this, it's crazy.
In all of this dude's craziness, pretty smart, pretty.
Oh,
No-
he's
no-
extremely
yeah.
smart.
Well, and I compared him to the Terminator,
Yeah.
Yeah.
where he's this force almost, right? Like the Terminator is not a person; it's a machine. He's like a machine.
He is. Yeah.
And literally, this scene parallels in the first Terminator movie where he's taking off his forearm, you know, the skin, if you will, and like operating on his innards, where it's like all the mechanics and stuff. And it's so great because it's literally a direct callback to that. I'd have to assume that's intentional. That this guy is like literally like a machine. He's not literally, but almost. He basically should be.
Mhm.
You know, I think such a great scene. And then Llewellyn, in the meanwhile,
We get
he's been
caught
taken
up
to the
with him,
hospital, and
we've been introduced to Carson at this point. I don't think we need to really dive
yeah,
into
it's
that
not
too
it's not
much.
terribly important. I don't think.
Mentions that the office is missing a floor. If you want to read into that, if you want to try and dissect, there's something being there. I don't really think there is. But we've been introduced to Carson, Woody Harrelson's character at this point, and now he's meeting him in the hospital in Mexico and kind of running him down of who he's dealing with and why the situation he's in, really. And
Right. He's
Yeah.
he's explaining to him, well, one, who he is, obviously, but
Mhm.
then also that like he's offering protection if he gives him the money.
Yeah.
Just give me the money, I can offer you protection from Anton. Even though one, that's probably bullshit.
Right, that's what I took it
Yeah.
as.
Yeah.
But then also it's like he kind of gives him more insight to Anton's ideals and
Yeah.
principles, where I mean he literally says
sugar.
yeah sugar. And he
Yeah, but he even after he repeats that, he still calls him sugar, and
Yeah.
I think that's hilarious. I love
Was he
that.
like some kind of badass?
Yeah, the ultimate badass.
Yeah.
Yeah,
yeah, well he asks, and he's like, so you've seen him and you're still alive, is basically implying that is not the case for very many
because he
people.
says, "I know what he looks like."
Mhm.
Oh, so you've seen him? Yeah, that's what he.
Yeah. So I think again, it's a cool scene to kind of round out who Anton is without Anton having to say it.
Yeah.
It's exposition, but it's in a clever way where it's like you have two characters going like, oh, this guy's he means fucking business. I mean, if you didn't know that already,
Yeah.
obviously, but at the same time, like this guy, what you just experienced. I mean, you're in a hospital in Mexico. You know, you barely made it out alive. I didn't even think that was possible.
Yeah.
What you've done here, like you the fact that you've crossed paths with Anton and you're still alive to tell the tale. That's first.
Pretty good.
You know, so
A little impressed there.
But again, he does
Mr.
talk about the fact that Anton does not care about money.
Yeah.
He
His
doesn't
principles supersede or transcend is, I believe, the word he uses.
Not a guy like you.
He cannot be reasoned with. He cannot be bartered with. He cannot be. You can't make a deal with the guy.
Just such a great back and like this scene is so in a way refreshing for the movie, in a way to get Llewellyn to interact with somebody that's not something that he needs from somebody,
Right?
Like someone that's actually there that needs something from him, and he's kind of in these different shoes. And just Woody Harrelson, man, I really like him. And all of his line deliveries, this subtle cockiness that he has, and everything that he always plays.
Subtle, you say?
I mean, I guess not so much. He to me, it's just I guess it's that he's not very extravagant in his body language.
I think he's very.
Because his words are.
He's so chill.
Yeah.
Like he's so
He's sure
laid
of
back.
himself,
Yeah,
though.
exactly.
Because when he's
confident.
getting hired by the guy who hires Wells, he even tells him, he's like, "Oh, you seem confident enough that he can get the job done of taking care of Anton." And he's like, he doesn't even say anything. He just goes, you know.
All right. Well, let's keep it moving a little bit.
Yeah.
We're at the hospital.
Getting patched up. He gets new clothes.
Well, wait. That's a little bit after, I feel.
We should probably talk about
'Cause we
Carla,
got the phone call.
and
Yeah. You're right.
Carla and
I think actually
Sheriff
from
Bell
there.
at the diner. It's probably a good time to talk about that now. Him trying to see if she knows where, because they're in Odessa at this time, and he's trying to figure out if she knows where he is. She doesn't, or he doesn't.
Because she's like
tells
just
her the
promising. I
story.
mean, she's coming to him under the pretense of, I just want to make sure Llewellyn is safe.
Right.
Please just promise me, you're not going to hurt him. And he's like, I'm not going to hurt him. I am trying to protect him from people that are 100% going to hurt him. And it's a cool little scene in the diner between the two of them, because it's like, I need you to help. I need you to tell me where Llewellyn's headed or where he's at or whatever, because there are some really, really bad people coming after him.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's a bit of disconnect in that scene between the two characters where it's like, again, I think Sheriff Bell is kind of like, again, being our protagonist and kind of like this commentary on his perception of life as a whole and his aging and society changing. It's like, even he's kind of telling her these different stories, and like she's like not following. Like, what does that even mean to me? I think it's relevant, but I think even he kind of like, don't worry about it, kind of.
Well, it's a fake story.
Wait, which story is what is it? Which one does he tell in that scene?
I can't remember. He makes up a name, and it's the one where he's saying like
where someone
about the ricochet of the cattle and stuff.
Yeah, and he like can't lift his arm above.
Right.
Yeah.
But it wasn't a true story. He just made it up because he says
why are
something
you
about
telling me
truth and
this?
justice to his secretary in the sheriff's office. But that's before he travels to Odessa. But that was before. That's like a quick little thing.
I didn't pick up on that. That was a
Yeah.
fake story, because I know
Because-
later that
well,
comes back
yeah.
where she asks him
Well,
the
she
name.
calls him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
She's like, was that a real story with whatever? And he's like, who?
right. Yeah.
forgets it. He
I thought
doesn't
he
even-
just forgot it. But
He did.
but
Because it's not real.
because it's not real. I thought he just like literally forgot what he told her.
Oh no.
I didn't think about that.
Yeah.
But he was using that as like a
yeah.
a little more interesting, a little more
Yeah.
depth to Sheriff Bell. Then I didn't catch that. Then I've seen this movie multiple times. Didn't catch that.
All right. And so I guess,
But we see Carson Wells find the satchel on
Oh.
the riverbank.
yeah,
Mhm.
finds it, goes back to the hotel.
Yeah.
Well, to be clear, he does not actually.
You're right,
No, he
you're
doesn't
right.
retrieve
He
it.
knows
needs it.
exactly. He can
He
see
He
it.
sees
knows
it.
where it is.
He knows where it's at.
Which also, do you guys believe that he could just trace, because Llewellyn never tells him, right?
Why did he? Yeah, he's like doing the exact recreation of him climbing
Yeah.
on top of the light poles right there, and how he would have
Because
tossed
he's just that's
I
just
guess
a way
he
to
just-
tell us
I
that
mean,
he's an expert.
You don't know
tracker.
Right.
exactly.
No,
yeah.
that's exactly what it is.
Right.
Because he's the one getting called to track Anton.
Right.
So obviously
True.
this guy, I mean, we get to know that he's a former army colonel too. So like
Mhm.
he's got a background as well.
So he's got some kind of experience with
He's like-
people moving around and like
Yeah.
how they would go about.
Right.
Like, oh well, if I was in that position, I probably would have tossed over the next to the Rio Grande right here, and just tossed it over the fence and grabbed it later. If I, so he's looking around, and it's daytime too, so he can see it. So yeah, he does not retrieve the satchel, but he does know exactly where it's at. He knows he could retrieve it at any point.
I mean, I think Carson notes that it only took him 3 hours to find out where.
Oh, really?
Yeah, where Moss was.
So from there, he returns to his hotel.
Just this great
starts
shot.
walking up the stairs, and then who starts falling? Who's walking right behind him? There's Anton, and then he goes, "Let's go to your room."
Hey, Carson.
Yeah, hey, Carson.
I love how
they know each other.
He hears something behind him, and he just like slowly turns around. Yeah.
Hey, let's go to your room. So they go to his hotel room. They're talking, and it's funny because this directly connects to the scene in the hospital where he's telling Llewellyn that you can't barter with this guy. You cannot make a deal with him. He has these principles and all this and that. Like you can't reason with him. That's all he's trying to do in this moment. He's literally offering like, I could take you to an ATM and I got $14,000. Like he gives a shit about that.
And then he says he knows where the satchel is.
Right.
And then that's when that's when Anton says, he's like, well, I already know where it's gonna be. And he's like, where's that? Like, it's gonna be brought to me at my feet and placed at my feet. Because he knows that, yeah, dude, I don't care if you know where it is or not. Like, that doesn't mean he knows where it is, but he knows he'll get it.
Yeah, he's gonna get it one way or another.
Moss, bringing it to him, and I think that's what he wants. He doesn't want Carson Wells' help. In fact, like, he doesn't need it, And I love that. And then that's when we get and in
this scene, we obviously, the phone starts ringing in his hotel room.
Oh yeah.
And they're just looking, dude. The ringing is so loud.
Something about an old landline. It is loud. Man. I hate an old landline.
Oh
ring.
my god! And that's like the sound design. Hey, he got nominated for sound design. So there you go.
That's when he like looks at Carson with that like kind of weird smile, smirk. He
knows, and then it's like the fourth ring starts to ring, and then he just blasts him.
Yeah.
And then he picks up the phone. It's Llewellyn calling from the hospital. So they're going back and forth, and Anton offers him a deal. He offers that not to spare his life, but he knows where he's headed. He knows he's headed to Odessa. And he's like, what's in Odessa? His wife's there. His mother-in-law is there. And
Carson mentions that to his talk with Moss too, that he knows where his wife is, and he said he's going to kill your wife.
Right. So it's like, and so Anton is literally offering for him to, you can't spare yourself, but you can spare your wife.
Right.
If you tell me where the money's at. If you can tell me that, then I'll make this deal with you. That's the best I can offer, is what he says. And then meanwhile, the blood starts from Wells, who had just been shot.
He just picks up his feet.
Yeah, and he just kicks up his feet on the bed. Yeah. And again, kind of harkens back to this idea that he does not like to get, any blood on him or anything like that. It's a very like weird scene, I think, because it's like Wells just told Llewellyn that he cannot be reasoned with.
Yeah.
And then he tried to reason with him, obviously to a fail. But then Anton is actually offering Llewellyn a deal.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's not ideal because he's still like, I'm going to kill you, but I'll spare your wife. That's as good as I can do, but it's still a deal that he had proposed, not Llewellyn. Kind of interesting that he threw that out there, and it's like, oh, I guess he can be reasoned with to an extent. And obviously Llewellyn is like, he declines the offer.
He almost offers that in a way of like that Llewellyn was able to escape him.
Like out of respect, you think?
Kinda. Like I think it's almost like, yeah, I'm still gonna kill you, but I'll spare your loved one.
So to most, I can't be reasoned with because
you still will die.
Yeah, but it's also, but even in this case, like,
but I'll spare your wife.
I'm kind of impressed by
you
getting away from me for the first time and landing a hit on me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still gonna kill you.
Yeah,
but I'll spare your wife.
You can't escape your fate, but
but Llewellyn, he declines the offer.
Right.
And
he's like, I got something coming for you.
Yeah.
Like
he said something badass. I wish I could remember exactly what he says, but and again, Josh Brolin, I think very convincing in his delivery of like I believe that he's going to do that. Like this must be our protagonist.
They're
This
getting
has
ready to meet up for their battle, for their
Mhm.
final hoorah. He gets back into America. Takes a little bit with the American agent who takes his job a little too seriously.
Oh, right.
And he's pressing him on it, and
Well, he's in like the hospital gown.
Right.
Yeah,
And
it's
he's
like this is a weird situation.
yeah.
So of course he questions
and then
on it.
throws his infantry numbers out there and his tour numbers, and lets him in. Goes back to the store, gets his new outfit, and then he's calling Carla Jean on the payphone, telling her to change the plans. Let's get to El Paso. And she says, all right, like take your mom too. And from there, we get him going to El Paso, right?
I think this is so let's see. Yeah, well, so in El Paso, or at least on the way to, they're intercepted by I assume the cartel,
Right.
Yeah.
but they're referred to as the Mexicans,
Right.
but I assume this is like the cartel.
Yeah.
They intercept them because they've been trailing Carla Jean and her mother this whole time, because they're trying to see where they're going, because presumably Llewellyn is going to meet them with the money. Well, they intercept them at a what is it, like a train station, or
Yeah, I think they were getting
Like
on a bus.
Yeah.
a bus
Like
station, maybe. Yeah, I guess those aren't. Yeah. Well, and
Bus,
one
train,
of them, one of the cartel members approaches them and approaches the mom and was like, "Oh, can I help you with your bags? Whatever." And she just spills the beans on where they're heading. I mean, she doesn't think anything of it, obviously, because she doesn't know what the hell's even going on.
Mm-hmm.
And she just tells them that they're going to El Paso and this and that. So now they know exactly where they're headed.
Yeah.
And or at least where Llewellyn is headed with the money.
And
And
you get Llewellyn talking to her, pulling up to that motel, and he's talking to that lady in the pool who is
she's offering him beer.
Yeah.
And then he's like, "Well, I know what beer leads to."
Yeah. I mean, and then you're like,
more beer.
I just need some more beer.
You kind of talking here, you're kind of sitting here. I guess Llewellyn once again isn't a bad person, because he's clearly is faithful to his wife.
It's not, yeah, exactly,
not engaging in this interaction further or letting it go any further. But from there, I'm not missing anything before what's about to go down, right?
I don't think so.
No, well, it's when Carla Jean is she calls the sheriff and lets him know where Llewellyn will be.
Okay.
Asking him to like protect him, basically.
Right.
Yeah, because he's
to help him
asking,
out.
yeah.
Right.
Because she knows like no good is gonna happen, right? But I do want to mention with that scene with that woman offering him beer and stuff, and yeah, he's being faithful and stuff. I don't know, but she mentions that she thought something was going on with him and his interest for her, because he keeps looking out the window. She notices that, but that's only because he's trying to see if anybody's coming for him.
And this scene, this exterior to this motel.
Well, hold on. I do want to mention, or actually, no, you go for it.
I was just gonna say it's filmed here, right?
In El Paso, Texas.
That's where we live, Albuquerque, New Mexico. Very cool. This movie, obviously, majority of it was filmed in New Mexico, not entirely in Albuquerque, but a lot in Santa Fe and Las Vegas, New Mexico. Yeah. This scene in particular, like the exteriors, at the very least, were in Albuquerque. So for us, we could have taken a little field trip. I actually wanted to. I know. Yeah, I know you'd mentioned that. Yeah. I thought that would have been kind of cool to go to the exact locations. Well, my understanding is that motel in particular, where they filmed it at, has been I don't know if taken down, but it's at least closed.
It's
no longer open. It's not like an operating motel anymore. But
almost 20 years ago, huh?
Yeah. Oh, that's crazy, right? You're like 2007. That wasn't that long ago, and you're like, that was almost 20 years ago. It's sickening. But it is cool for us that at the very least we could visit that location very easily. So shout out Albuquerque. And I guess.
So he declines the lady's offer in the pool, and then you get a cut to black, cut back in, and you get Sheriff Bell approaching the motel, seeing once again the Mexican
truck.
truck with the lights, so you know exactly who was just there.
Yeah.
Buzzing out of there, hauling butt down the road again, and Sheriff Bell coming in, and the lady in the pool, the lady in the pool is murdered, and then Llewellyn doesn't even get a close-up shot
No.
of his death. You almost don't even know it's him for how much it's kind of like
It's fairly
it's-
like it's him. Like
No, it's weird. I've seen this movie. I don't know how many times. I've seen this movie a good amount of times. I always knew that was Llewellyn.
Yeah,
This last time, I was like, I thought it was a different shot that showed him in more of a close up,
yes.
and then you don't get that obviously.
No.
This time I forgot, and I was like, oh, that was him right there on the floor.
Yeah, I mean he's in his
So your
clothes,
whole-
like,
No,
you
I
see
know,
him
yeah,
before.
seeing like obviously when you're watching these scenes back and whatever, but I think this screening in particular, I didn't catch it.
But here you are now.
It is very quick.
Now
It's weird
It is pretty quick.
in that way.
as an audience member, your whole perception of this movie has just been flipped upside down.
Oh yeah.
You get an off-screen death that wasn't even Anton, and you're
Right.
just wondering, where is this movie going now? And,
You almost got to think if he had been unfaithful and went back to the room of that woman's, he would have been safe.
I don't know, because that's Bang Bang. He's wearing the same outfit, still has the gun on his shoulder. That literally happened right after
That's
that.
true because she dies at the pool. So presumably that was. I mean, I don't know how long she'd be at the pool.
He was
for.
he was capped either
But I
way.
would like to think
You're-
that
I mean,
if
I
you-
like what you're thinking
I
because
want-
it's
I
it's
gotta
the
Maybe
say
he was
chance.
at the pool, and
I
maybe he was
think
in more of an exposed
they
area.
would have already left. I don't know who knows how long the
You're right. I mean,
conversation
that-
went
that
on
That is
for.
interesting.
That's
to-
a fun.
to-
That's a fun thing
If
to
only
think
he was
about.
a bigger piece of shit and was unfaithful
Yeah.
to his wife, then maybe he would have survived this whole ordeal.
His life may have been extended a little bit more before Anton comes and meets
Yeah.
him.
That's true. Anton was still coming
Anton
anyway.
was still coming.
So the guy was
Yeah.
cooked, but
Yeah.
that's really funny. I hadn't even considered that. That's
and
really
then
funny.
you get Sheriff Bell. Crime scene's been thrown up, and you get Carla Jean pulling up, and she discovers that her husband has been murdered.
Well, it's that nice shot, right?
He takes off-
he takes off his
It
hat.
doesn't have to
Doesn't
say
even
a
have to
word.
say a word, and she breaks down. Of course, she knows what that
And
means.
She knows exactly who's in there, and then we get Sheriff with the
Well,
El Paso guy.
Yes, it's that same part, but yeah, we see him looking over Llewellyn's body in like the coroner's office or whatever.
Oh,
you
right.
know?
He like confirms the.
Yeah, and he's just looking
yeah.
over. Again, we still don't get to see Llewellyn, but we know
Yeah,
he's looking
these-
at him.
I guess that's technically their interaction, right? I know
Right.
these three characters never interact, but
Yeah.
technically, he's with his.
Yeah.
And then when he's walking outside of that place, that's when he meets the other sheriff, I believe.
Mhm.
And then he just asks for a drink of like
Yeah.
coffee or something. So we get that little interaction at which is hilarious because like the guy's talking about like like today's age of like seeing people in his town
With,
like with green hair
yeah,
and
colored
bones
hair,
in their
and
nose.
bones in their nose.
I'm talking. That's not that guy. That's his cousin that says that.
No,
I think it's.
It's that guy.
I'm with Tanner. I think
That's
it's the
it
sheriff.
is.
I don't think Ellis says that.
I would.
If you're,
bet,
if you're,
Lassie,
dude,
I
if you're
would
wrong,
bet. I would
or
bet.
I'm sorry, if
you
we're
want to
wrong,
bet? This is on screen bet, guys.
Yeah,
You wanna
I wanna bet.
How much?
I don't
It's a
know,
friendly bet.
$10.
Ooh,
Oh,
$10
yeah,
bucks.
$10.
Damn.
$10. We're breaking the bank here.
Going crazy,
Yeah,
guys.
give
This
me
is a
$10.
first. This is a first for Backseat Filmmaking to make a bet live on camera.
But yeah, so
He just
anyways,
watched it last night.
I
Yeah.
know, and I still think he's wrong.
Okay.
You can.
I honestly could go either way, so I'm not gonna get involved.
I
in this.
usually don't remember a whole lot, so I mean, it is a a good bet, but I'm like 100% confident.
I'm 100% confident as well.
Good for
Okay,
you.
well, we'll see in
Good
the
for
edit,
you.
and
Before we
I'll throw this
erupted in
in.
an argument here, keep it
Sorry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
Well, it's because that
Regardless of
whole
that.
scene reminded me of
Yeah.
like a Fargo type of
Yeah.
like
yeah,
banter.
that's definitely Fargo.
That's where like that kind of was interesting. That and again the humor involved in that, the little like deadpan humor and stuff like that's where I found out.
Seth, I think you referred to this sheriff as Doug Dimmadome, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right.
Accurate.
That's right.
Pretty accurate. I just
And then,
remember that during that screening.
we see them walking out of the place. Sheriff Bell's going back to his car, and the other guys walk him to it. And then we hear him talking about like Anton, or the other sheriff refers to him as his guy to Sheriff Bell. And he calls him some kind of lunatic. And then that's when I was like, I don't. He's like, I don't think that's the word I'd call him. And he's like, well then what would you call him? And then he's like, to me, he's sort of like a ghost.
Mhm.
He's almost like not real. Like no one has seen him. Anybody that's seen him has probably died, and like it's an interesting conversation, because then we get the other sheriff telling him about how Anton went back to the hotel to kill Carson. And he's like, who does that? Goes back to a crime scene and kills a former army colonel. And that's when we find out the background of Carson a little bit. And then that gives Bell the idea to go back to the motel crime scene where Llewellyn was shot.
Yeah, he pieces it together like, oh, he's probably back there then.
Right. He kind of just
Granted, for a different
forward,
reason,
and then he goes
he's
back.
trying to get the money. Anton.
Right.
I mean, that's the whole goal here. But Sheriff Bell does. Okay, well, he goes to investigate.
Mhm.
Tanner, we talked about it before a shooting. What that scene kind of, how you interpreted it. I have to hear this again.
I put it in my notes.
Yeah, you don't have to say verbatim, but
no,
I
won't,
genuinely,
it's a bit
I swear
like
to God,
scattered, but I
this breakdown of the scene and what it meant to you and how you took it. I had not, I through all the research we did, however many times I've seen this movie, as much as I obviously paid attention to the movie, when you brought this up, it kind of blew my mind.
I mean, honestly, I guess it was just like I was trying to make sense of it all,
right?
Like, kind of piece it together.
But you put it in a way that made it super
yeah.
clear that I haven't heard elsewhere. I don't even know if that's actually the case.
Yeah,
but it's a fun interpretation of it. So I would love, no, absolutely, I would love for you to, if you don't mind putting, I'm gonna put you on the spot a little bit, but I'd love to.
No, I mean, I guess
to break this
I don't
down.
really need. Like I guess when we see Sheriff Bell pull up to the motel crime scene, it's obviously at night. He goes up there. We see like the crime scene tape over the 2 motel doors, and then we see Sheriff Bell notice like the lock out of there because he used the Anton was there, pistol, obviously, yeah. And so he knows, oh, he's there because this wasn't like this before. And so before he goes in, we like you notice that shadow of him pulling out his gun, which again. He doesn't. This is the first time we see Sheriff Bell with the gun.
I do want to point out really quick this, just the cinematography alone.
Oh yeah, beautiful.
Roger Deakins, he got a nom, to be fair, at the Oscars. Did not win. He lost to There Will Be Blood, which I have not seen, so I cannot comment on. That shot alone of his shadow drawing the pistol and approaching the door, I honestly think is one of the best shots I've seen in a film in a long time. And I mean, I know it's an older film,
just
but
that whole sequence with the shadow
every time I see it, that shot in particular, I don't know what it is. It's those reflection shots in the TV,
super
and
cool.
that shadow of him pulling it. It's so crisp.
Simultaneously, we see it editing back and forth of seeing Anton. He is there. He might be in that room. We see him like. He's in one of the rooms, but we don't know which one. We assume maybe he's in the one that
shot that shadow is like splitting him right.
Oh, dude, he's like
face right in half, and he has the shotgun.
Yeah,
just and he's in the corner of behind the door.
And this is a moment where we see like just kind of Sheriff Bell's like whole thing of the whole movie of this world is changing around him and stuff, and again we see him with the gun. He never has a gun, but this time he decides to have a gun. Because I think he knows there's a moment of, dude, I could encounter this ghost that he's been trying to track this whole time, and he might have to face him. And he knows that this guy is not a guy that you could reason with, and he knows he's gonna have to use his gun if need be. And so he's pulling out his gun, and as he opens it, he kind of just swings it open, and then we see the other shadow of his whole body standing and reflecting against like the wall of the room. And to me, it was almost like, like I was telling you guys before, like it just felt like his last moment of being a sheriff, like that shadow being the last bit of his career before he's calling it quits, because he's almost facing his fear of being too old to handle this ever-changing world that's happening around him and being capable.
What'd you call that though? Hero shot.
Yeah, it seemed like a hero moment.
Right. It seemed it's like set up to be.
Yeah.
But it's the subversion.
Right.
Where you have him standing in the doorway. It's silhouetted.
Yeah.
It's gorgeous to look at. Man, what a badass. No one's in the room.
Yeah, and he
nothing to do.
goes to the bathroom, seeing if maybe he's in there.
He looks
He's
around
not
a bit.
there. Yeah, he's almost like we see him almost at a relief that he didn't encounter him.
Mm-hmm.
See him sit on the bed, take his hat off or whatever, and then we see it pan over to like him looking over, and it's the vent taken out and we see the coin of Anton's with blood on it and stuff, and it's heads up on the ground with the screws out and stuff. And to me, that just almost felt like a metaphorical way of Sheriff Bell like choosing his fate. Him calling the coin and choosing between this 50-50 chance of the motel rooms, of him choosing this one room, and this might be his fate. But he calls it right, and he
called heads.
He called heads, so to speak,
and he went in head on.
He went, yeah. I thought of it like, okay, but like, he didn't actually call it heads or tails or whatever. But I guess with the heads up and him making it alive, I just thought maybe him calling it heads up was a way of him facing that moment and fear head on, if you will. Again, this is a bit of a reach.
I think that is intentional, right? Because I'd have to assume some part of that is. I didn't pick up on that watching the film.
Because
when
I
you
noticed
pointed that out.
Yeah, the gas station clerk owner,
right?
I believe he calls heads.
He does call heads.
Yeah,
and he's correct, and he's spared. Granted, no one else plays this game. Well, I know we'll get to it at the very end, but as far as him playing the game, calling heads, getting correct, and being spared at the gas station, and then if you were to interpret Sheriff Bell calling heads, going head on, and then seeing the coin heads up, even also being spared, if you will, almost like, I mean, at least he didn't die. It's an interesting parallel.
Yeah, I mean, that choice led him to that decision to make, and
absolutely
him deciding to choose to go in rather than just stand back and just,
I know this movie has been talked to death on pretty much any platform where people will dissect movies. Obviously, YouTube being probably the biggest, but that to me, I have never heard that interpretation, and even you telling us that, at least to me, recontextualizes the movie. And again, I've seen this movie probably 5 or 6 times. I've seen it a fair amount of times. I love this movie. That is such a creative way of looking at the movie, and I can only imagine that it's at least somewhat intentional. On the end of Coen Brothers, they're very intentional directors, and they're very pragmatic in their direction and process. Maybe you cracked the code. I don't know.
No, I was kind of afraid that both of you guys would have been like, yeah, I mean, you're not covering any new ground here.
Or that's like a reach. No, I genuinely think that is.
I think that's incredible because, everything. This scene is one of the most talked about scenes when people are breaking down the movie. But the thing that people get fixated on and caught up with is that, maybe it shows him, but he was never there. He's chasing this ghost. This is all that metaphor. But the way that you looked at it was just completely different. Something like Derrick said, I hadn't seen it when I was researching. Certainly didn't pick up on it when I was watching it. I didn't even realize that there was 2 doors that were even an option. But even going back to the whole point of him choosing this door is if he wasn't looking in the trailer home, he wouldn't have even known that Anton's whole thing is popping doorknobs open. And I love that take. I think that's why we do it right there. That's why we put in the hard work.
Why we try to do it.
Watching movies.
I appreciate it.
Tanner, I swear to God, that is such a good take on that. At least that scene alone, it does recontextualize a lot of what the movie kind of represents with life, death, chance, and all these random variables.
The whole commentary of the movie. Yeah. And the chance and the...
I never picked up on that. I swear to God. I almost want to watch it again with that, just for that scene in mind.
Yeah.
It's such it's a weirdly pivotal scene. You know all the big scenes. the gas station
Mhm.
and then all the confrontations that happen later. But this being a non-confrontation, it's not our hero versus villain. They do not interact.
But
it's
it's
right
like that
there.
same suspense of when Anton is finding Moss in the hotel room,
Yeah.
and he's
Yeah,
coming up, and like
exactly.
the anticipation of like them, like them facing each
and
other.
you would think in the sense of a movie, how movies work, well, we're approaching our climax.
Yeah.
So this is going to be our climax, hero versus villain,
Mhm.
finally to settle it all. Especially in a Western. A Western, it's got to be the good versus the bad. Simple as that. We don't get that.
Mm-mm.
And some people will argue that you're robbed of it, right? But that's not the point.
I
No.
love
No,
that
no.
it doesn't
And
do
again, that's
Yeah.
why the Coen brothers were so attracted to this story, the subversions, right? On the tropes of the genre. It is not a Western. It's a neo-Western.
Mhm.
It's a Western that kind of takes elements that are familiar and then makes them slightly unfamiliar, or at least unsure when you're watching it, especially
Yeah.
for the first time. And you watch it and you go, I actually don't know where the fuck this is going, because I would have been able to guess had it been a traditional. Not. I think that's really, really creative in that. I think your take on it is really, really impressive.
Mhm.
Honestly, I genuinely I love that take.
Thank you. I
Not to
guess-
gas it too much, but I really do think it is it's interesting. It just makes it kind of blows my mind a little bit that you came to that, and I mean, would have never
Quite
even
honestly, I
guessed.
thought you guys would have been like, that's a bit of a reach. But
No, I love that interpretation of it. The two doors, the 50-50, the flip of a coin,
Yeah, I mean, I
right?
don't think
Kind of all
anything's-
harkens back,
Yeah, Coen Brothers movie. I don't think anything's supposed to be a reach. I mean,
right?
Yeah,
I think
guess
it's all
so, right?
all up to interpretation, or at the very least, it's intentional, so you
Yeah.
can speculate as much as you want.
yeah,
Let's move on.
Right.
I know. We kind of. To be fair, I'm glad we touched on this
Yeah.
as much as
No,
we did,
that-
because I think you fucking nailed it.
Mhm.
But so
So now Sheriff Bill goes to see his cousin, right?
I believe so. Yeah, he goes to see his cousin Ellis.
Yep, and
Tell us
he's
a little-
going back and forth with him about how he's feeling like he's outmatched,
Mm.
he's overmatched. I
Mhm.
think is the word he
Yeah,
says.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're correct. Yeah,
And
overmatched.
he says he's going back and forth with him. Ellis tells him a story of this other sheriff that died, and kind of the point of it is to say, like, you're not getting away from this. Like, fate is fate, and the fact that he thinks he can get away with it is vanity on his part.
Mm.
The delivery of that line is perfection. The back and forth that these two have is very, it feels out of place, but very, again, it's intentional. It's conveying something for this character, this world that has been built, and I think it's a great scene. I don't think too much needs to be spent on it.
I don't think so. I think it's more like what you take out of it.
Yeah,
Like personally, like literally person to person could take these
Oh, yeah.
scenes philosophically,
Yeah.
even not to get too deep or what I feel personally about it or whatever. Although I do want to comment on the final monologue, but
oh, for sure.
I think this conversation with Ellis is interesting because it takes two guys who are relatively in the same spot, but have taken two different approaches on life and what it means to take the world around them as time goes on and as it passes them by, as they become relics or whatever.
And I was telling you guys, well, he's literally beating around the bush with the title of the movie.
Oh my God. I you know, and again, I've seen this movie
Yeah,
multiple times.
yeah,
I thought he said it
yeah.
and he doesn't.
No, he says
you-
everything
yeah.
around it.
Like as close as
Yeah,
you can get. And you're like, come on, just give us the
Just say it.
Just say it. We're
It's-
all waiting for
yeah.
it. No Country for Old Men. Just
Yeah.
say it. Yeah, he doesn't say it.
Yeah.
And that's taken that title is taken from a poem.
Mhm.
God, I wish I knew the title
Yeah.
of the poem, but it's literally the first line of it. And this No Country for Old Men, again, it's this commentary on you get to a certain age, and I think you realize that things are not and could not be how they used to be, how you remember them, right? The good old days, if you will.
Mhm.
So when you're old and perhaps even jaded, for whatever reason that might be,
Mm.
you look at the world around you, and you only see the bad, maybe the violence, the disdain, this like almost randomness to everything. You don't get it. You like just couldn't. Obviously, the people that are younger and in that, well, that's the world that they know. So therefore, it is not that perspective, right? We'll talk a little bit more about the monologue at the end, because I think that's what kind of cements that for me with Sheriff Bell and what it means, I guess, to me and how I interpret it. But
I guess the next important part is to Carla Jean and Sugars.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, they come. Carla Jean's coming from her mom's funeral.
Yep. And she's walking in her house and pops open her bedroom door, and the shot is terrifying when it happens. When she pops open the door, and who's sitting there? Anton Chigurh, menacingly sitting there in the corner, just patiently waiting for his victim to come. Or I guess we'll get into this.
I knew you were crazy when I saw you sitting there.
Yeah. And they get into this back and forth that she's pressing back on not wanting to play. She knows the game. She knows this what he's doing, why he's there.
Right.
And I think she perfectly encapsulates by saying, it's not the coin, it's you. And I know you were saying, just let me speak on this just a second. I think it gets talked about a lot that, you know, he's this fictional guy in this movie, this person that's not real, this ghost. But I think the way that Carla delivers that line and just kind of is like, no, you think you've appointed yourself to be this deliverer of fate and everything, but then that doesn't make it fate, because you're you're not fate, you're just a person. And she's calling him on his BS of being this guy that thinks he's anointed to be this grim reaper to people by fate. And I think it's super badass for her to say that. I mean, she knows she's probably going to die anyway, but stand on that business one more time.
Would you, it's like, she's kind of looking at it like, if I play this game, technically, I guess I could win. And I could be spared. But it's almost like, I don't want you to fucking spare me.
Yeah.
I don't care. Honestly, I don't care. I've dealt with enough.
I was spared before you were here.
That's what I'm saying. I didn't know you before now, and now I do, and I don't care. And it's like, you could kill me, but just understand that you are killing me, not fate.
Yeah.
And it's like, I'm not gonna play into your bullshit. Yeah, exactly. Like you said, of like this ideology he has, that he has like this like deliverance of he is the one to deliver your fate. And it's like, do your thing, man. I'm not gonna play your fucking game.
Coen got here the same way I did.
Well,
it's like,
he's almost the embodiment of the personification of death itself, like throughout the movie and stuff. And but then that's when we get, it's like the whole time, he's this ghost. He might not even be real. He's otherworldly, all this and that. And then Carla Jean, says, she goes, the coin don't have no say. It's just you.
Yeah.
And then he's so like good. He's almost like oh wow, like I think he might be right, but then he's like, call it. Like he's like, why aren't you calling it? Like,
it fucks
what the fuck? Call it.
Yeah.
Like, you know? And that what you guys said exactly. Like it's hilarious that like she almost single-handedly like disrupts his whole thing. Like, wait, why?
Yeah,
wait,
it's like
what?
it's like is he, and again, you can interpret the Anton in a bunch of different ways. Whether he be, he's either death himself.
And she's not afraid. She's like the only one that encounters.
I think she's just dealt with so much recently, and she just buried her mom. Llewellyn's dead. Yeah. What does she have to even live for? It's like, kill me or don't play your fucking game. I don't care about your flip of the coin. Just kill me if you have to.
I have a nitpick here of it in a man of his principles and everything. If he already promised Llewellyn through this deal that if he didn't fulfill it, he would kill her, why is he playing the game?
My theory on that is, because you're correct, if there was no other additional information, she does mention that she's got the funeral costs to bury her mom, which just happened, by the way. on top of dealing with the fact that both of them know Llewellyn's dead. So it's, even though he didn't kill Llewellyn, she's got a lot on her plate. I honestly think he takes pity in her and offers this compromise of, again, harken back to the gas station owner. He kind of pitied him, where it was like, you married into this and this is your whole fucking life. All right, I'll give you a coin flip for it. Like, it's not even worth it. But if you feel like it is, I'll let you flip a coin. And I think that was the only idea. Now, granted, when it's declined, the very idea takes offense to that, because it's almost like, whoa, wait, hang on. I'm giving you a chance. And it's like, I don't want a chance. I don't care. Do what you got to do. You're already in my house. Kill me if you have to. But I don't know. I'm not going to beg for my life. And again, I do want to mention that that is one of the few differences from the novel that has changed for the film. That in the novel, she's more, I guess, more desperate for her life. She pleads more for her life, and she does actually play the game, and she loses and dies. In this, she flat out refuses, just based off of her own principles. And now, granted, the scene afterwards, right? We get Anton leaving the house. Well, he's checking the bottom of his boots, implying that he shot her. There was blood, so he's checking the bottom of his boots for blood,
right?
As he's done previously in the film. So she did meet her end, presumably. And it's a shame, but it's also like, honestly, fuck it. Like, what else did she have to lose? She's kind of on her own. She's completely on her own, actually. And Anton, maybe even that out of pity, is like, I'll just take you out because I don't really know what else you got going on. But from there, what do we get after? And
he hops in his car, just emotionless, and driving down the street. Two kids ride their bikes behind him, kind of looks behind, keeps driving. And then somebody runs an intersection, T-bones him.
Oh yeah, he's got the green.
Yeah, no, yeah, it wasn't his fault.
He got smoked.
So once again, fate it has
almost like he can't even escape it.
So he gets blasted and hops out, face bloodied, bone out, takes a seat on the curb. The kids come and ask for if he needs an ambulance, and he says, "Give me your shirt." And just a great little scene of the contrast between the people on the bridge with Llewellyn, kind of
fighting over it, like, or just like, it's like about my, even though the kid at first, he's like, just take the shirt, like,
he doesn't care about the money.
But as soon as he gets the money, then the other kid's
it's like
well,
that.
Hey, you got to split it with me or something like
it's
that.
like this idea of greed,
right,
and how it consumes somebody, again, like Llewellyn, who's not a bad person, at least as far as we know, as far as this story will give us. He's not a bad person, but he's opportunistic. It's human nature. And I know it's relative, but $2 million, a lot of fucking money. You can do a lot with that. You can change your life. It could literally get you out of whatever the fuck you're in. For this kid, $100 even. Not gonna necessarily change his life, but at the moment, wow, I've never seen $100 bill or whatever, or at least for a shirt. I'll do that.
Yeah.
And then they're fighting over it. It's kind of like, again, he's kind of like this, he's kind of a representation of like chaos. And I wouldn't say evil. I would say chaos and like death. Right. And it's like he's just this harbinger of these two things, perhaps. And even that maybe started to kind of infect that kind of situation, and he dips out after the car crash. And
you see him walking off.
Yeah, you see him walking off. We never know.
Never see him.
Ends up happening.
Never see him again.
And then we get to.
He tells him, "You never saw me."
Yeah, he's like, "You never saw." Yeah.
And so
then we go to Sheriff Bell.
Yep.
And this is the closing monologue that he gives to his wife. He's retired by this point, and he explains that he has two dreams. And she's, I want to hear him. I want to know what, So he explains the first dream, and he's like, I had my father was there, and he gave me some money, and then I lost it. And that was about it. The second dream, they're on a mountain pass, horseback, and it was snowing, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
And his father rode ahead to go make a campfire, something like that. They're not extremely detailed dreams, like a dream would be, right? When you remember a dream the next day, even you wake up and you go, "What the fuck was that? Weird." He mentioned something about his father. He's like, "I'm older than my father ever was."
Right.
That makes him the younger man.
In a sense.
Again, commenting on his age and how things are just passed him by. That he was older than his father ever was, as far as he knew him. And what does that mean to him? Right? This dream, well, you had mentioned earlier, right? You had brought up the painting in the hotel room. There's a painting in that hotel scene that we infamously, by this point, got away from and then had to come back, but depicts two men on horseback on a mountain ridge, kind of foreshadowing what he's talking about with this dream and what it doesn't mean anything, right? Like technically it doesn't mean anything, but it's what you take out of that. And I don't know. I don't know if you guys have any thoughts.
I just think it's the metaphor of, let's just say it's probably not as much a metaphor as it is just Tommy. Let's presume he was still working while he had these dreams. Bell. That was the first
that's
time.
the only. That's I was gonna say the only time he's done that. To be fair,
Sheriff Bell. Let's assume he was still working while he was having these dreams, and I think it's just about him still going on the narrow pass ahead, still going into the dark, still going, and his dad is going back to camp, and he's still got it's still his time to go into this pass, into the unknown, while his dad goes to comfort and the relaxation that is really the afterlife, or just his finality in his work, and that's over with for him, and he's going to go set up camp, and he'll be there because he says in the dream, like, he gave me this look like as if he knew I'll see him, or he'll be waiting for me or something.
Right.
And so I think it's just one last kind of rodeo down there, and he'll be back waiting for him with the fire. I don't think anything more than that from me.
I like that.
I took it as him waiting for him maybe in the afterlife.
Yeah.
Right. It's like he went ahead.
Mm-hmm.
Campfire will be set up.
Yeah.
Waiting for you when you are. Like whenever you're ready. He's approaching that clearly. An older man, tired. I think he's ready to call it, maybe even his life. Again, probably approaching that. And I take that as like him seeing his dad, how he remembered him. And then finally meeting again. And I don't know why it's so, again, I had mentioned at the very, very beginning, with this earnestness of Tommy Lee Jones delivering these lines. It's very, very believable.
It's captivating.
It draws your attention. There's no music. Also, I want to mention this. There's no music in the movie.
Yeah.
There's not a soundtrack. There's not a score aside from
the mariachi.
Aside from the mariachi band,
music.
there's some live stuff in there. There's some sounds in there that is part of the sound design, as far as they used what do they call them? Like meditation bowls.
Yeah.
They use like Buddhist practices to kind of create some of the atmosphere with score, but even that is very minimal. And this final monologue, it's just quiet. And it's so captivating. It's so moving. And again, I don't even really know why. To me personally, it's not like any of that relates to me. But yet it captures this idea of life and death, and what it means to be alive, what it means to die, and what it means to move on from all of that. And as time goes on, to me, he's just basically spelling out that, like, maybe my dad's waiting for me.
Yeah.
And then when he reaches that point, then I don't know, maybe he can just relive these memories, or see this side that he never got to. I don't even know.
No, I mean, it could be a nothing dream, right? Like
That
it could
that
be
too.
nothing.
Yeah, you have plenty of
but-
dreams a night that what the hell did that
Yeah,
mean?
but it's fun to try and. I mean, this is
You gotta
what
think
this
it's
is what you're left
intentional.
with, right?
It's
like
the
this
last
is
Yeah.
scene
you
of
have
the film.
to you have to
It
just-
has to mean something.
yeah.
But
it's,
it is
it's giving the audience
interpretive.
something to go ahead and make something of this.
Right.
Go,
And I guess that's how I took it.
yeah.
I
No, I
suppose.
like that. I like that.
I mean, I like your take too.
Yeah.
It's again, it's very philosophical. It doesn't make, not a whole lot of movies make me think too much, but I think this movie really does not like lend itself to like, okay, we have to tell the audience everything. Make of it what you will.
Yeah.
I like that.
Tanner, what you got?
I don't know if you got it.
I agree with you guys.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean,
All right.
not much to take from it. For
And
me.
that's the movie. I mean, it
and
cuts
then
the
he
black,
woke up,
right?
and then he woke up,
Then
and
I
you
woke
get
up.
the
Boom.
beautiful clock ticking still into the. I mean,
Again, sound design.
yeah,
That type of shit. I it's so subtle.
yeah.
So minuscule. Got nominated for a reason. So
So
very impressive. But that's the movie.
Yep.
And
written and directed by Joel
written
and
and
Ethan
directed
Coen.
by, yeah.
And I mean, this just, I think, just get right into the ratings here.
Yeah.
I brought this movie because obviously we've all seen it. We know it's a very acclaimed movie, a very studied movie. I was interested to see the conversation that we would have about it. And the wheel by fate chose this movie.
Back to
And-
back for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you'll never have to, for at least the next couple weeks, have to see my mug in this seat and trying to lead this conversation here. But, it's another big hitter movie. I think some of my picks moving forward might not be as acclaimed stuff, trying to get more into some
Personal choices.
yeah. But I mean, this is an all-around banger. A movie that I think will stand the test of time. I'll be watching into my Tommy Lee or my Sheriff Bell age and talking about my silly dreams and how the time has passed me by and how the country is it's no country for me as an old man. So I'm gonna give this movie a 9.42.
Oh, okay. All right.
Love it.
Love this movie and
Sticking with the
yeah,
tradition
I
of
think it's just gonna be what I do, and
that's fair.
yeah.
I like the
Mhm.
more precise
Yeah.
scores. I know I keep it more rounded off, but
And so yeah, that's where I land. I love the movie. So
okay.
Tanner, what you got there, partner? Friendo?
Honestly, to me, it's a pretty much flawless movie. I'm giving it a 10, straight up.
10 out of 10.
10
We got a
out of
banger.
10.
We got a banger on our hands.
It's damn near flawless. I could try to nitpick certain things, but that's quite honestly just me trying to go about trying to find something that I maybe not necessarily didn't like, but just like that's something to note of. But to be quite honest with you, I love the whole thing. There's not really a scene in there that I thought, I wish they would have went this way or that way. I'm glad they chose every direction they did. Again, adapting from the book and stuff and certain changes from the movie adaptation. But again, I love it. 10.
Okay.
All right.
Wow. Our first 10 on
like
the show.
the
First
amount
10
of
on the
money
show.
he's gonna owe me.
I'm going to be, I'll be frank. I
Good
thought
luck, wow.
that I was going to have the highest score here, but I guess that's not possible now
Yeah.
because Tanner gave it a 10. I'm going to give it a 9.9.
Oh.
And the only reason I don't give it a 10, I have a like very specific vibe that I want in a movie. And that could mean anything, honestly, from nostalgia to what I think technically makes a good movie to what just moves me the most.
Mm-hmm.
And while this movie is like literally right, I mean, it's a 9.9, right? Out of 10. It's right there. It wouldn't fall in my top 5. Hell, it wouldn't fall in my top 10. And I know that's completely subjective, but I do find it to be a flawless movie, as you said too.
Yeah.
You could nitpick as much as you want, and I still don't think it's not a near perfect to perfect film. I think perhaps it's the genre, right? I'm not too versed in westerns as a whole, specifically neo-westerns. It's a very, very specific subgenre. And I think maybe that's just not what speaks to me most of the time. And yet this movie is so captivating. I think the cinematography, we'll have to watch There Will Be Blood. We haven't even watched that, but that's what won for cinematography the year of for the Oscars. This movie blows my fucking mind. I think this movie's cinematography, again, by Roger Deakins, shout out to Roger Deakins. He has created something here I honestly haven't seen in years, and I never saw prior to, especially with the use of shadows. I honestly think this movie alone, as far as how it looks, is perfect. I think the script is tight. I think the story, and again, shout out to Cormac, right?
Yep.
Cormac McCarthy, for the source material for the book, of course, because I got to read it now. I'm incredibly interested because I think this movie as an adaptation is unbelievably good. You have everybody in the cast firing on all cylinders. The cinematography is gorgeous. You have a next to nothing score because you literally don't need it, because everything on display is just so good. And I think the Coen Brothers, go figure, once again, 2007. This is so long ago, 20 years ago. They nailed it. They're terrific filmmakers, and I think this is perhaps their best. I don't know. We'll talk about Fargo maybe at some point. I would love to. I don't know. That's in contention, but I do think that this movie just nails it. So 9.9 is the last I'll say about that. I don't want to get too, but yeah, it's crazy that I think as our host, you give the lowest score.
I know. I guess I'm still not found the one that's going to breach a 9.5 for me. But I mean,
you're a real snob, you know that.
I am. I am. And maybe I should be a little more liberal with my scores. But
no, I mean, if that's how you feel.
But they're my scores, damn it.
No, and and I respect that, because that's at the end of the day, that's how you feel.
Yeah.
I think that's all I have to say about the movie. Yeah, I think that kind of pretty much does it.
Yeah. Thanks for tuning in with us. Anybody have anything else?
No, I think that'll do it. Yeah. Honestly, I think we covered just about everything and then some.
All right. Well, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for bearing with us there. And Mr.
You're still here.
If you're still here.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Dean Norris, take us out of here.
Thank you, Dean.
Hey, fans and subscribers of Backseat Filmmaking. Thank you, viewers, for watching. You need to like, subscribe, comment, and generally don't break bad on the comments, all right? Because I'm going to kick your butt, all right? You don't want the DE after your ass. So do all that and support Backseat Filmmaking.